welcome to Infamous, the audio podcast. This is Brandon, or Mutilus, on the forum.
This is Jeremy. Man, I'm almost gonna go to the forums again. I mean, probably not, but if I did, I'd go by I love Thanos again.
And this is Aaron, and I don't go to the forums.
Good choice.
Perfect.
Aaron is our special guest star today. We've replaced Parker because Parker failed to show up.
He is dead to us both.
So yeah, he's dead. Yeah. We'll talk about punishment for next week. He has 953 probationary episodes. I feel like we could get him to 1,000. We'll help him out.
No doubt.
Yeah. On the plus side, we have all kinds of spicy news because we decided not to record till Friday.
Oh my god.
Good choice. All right. So first bit of news that I'm sure everyone has heard about, unless you don't go on the internet. The card cycling that we have been theorizing is officially part of the game now. We have 2 game modes that are now options. The first one is Standard, which involves the card cycling. In Standard format, all characters are legal, and then Team Tactics cards that do not have the web symbol on it, the Spider-Man logo, the other 3 symbols are all legal. All Crisis cards are legal, and then any Infinity Gem cards that have the hammer symbol are legal. So basically the new prints from the card pack, and then only the missions from the spider symbol stuff. Then we also have the extended timeline, where everything is legal, including former banned cards, to my knowledge. Is that how you guys read this? Does that sound right?
Correct.
Absolutely. They did clarify that if you want to use your old Spider-Man card, that's totally legal. So
yeah,
you
as
do
long
not
as
have
it's
to buy the
been
new
reprinted, yeah.
What do you mean Spider-Man
So-
card? Hold on, wait.
The Web Warrior symbol cards, the spider logos. So
Oh,
if you have like
okay.
the old Avengers symbol, you can use the old one because it's been reprinted. But I don't know, did they clarify if that works even if you don't have the card pack stuff?
They did not clarify. I think it was insinuated that it would not be a problem.
Okay. Because my understanding was that you could use the printed out cards before, as long as they had the correct text on them. But yeah, I never thought about the legality of, let's say, as an example, Advanced R&D. If you have the original printing of Advanced R&D, it has the wrong text. So I don't know if that would be legal for tournament play or not. I just will have to get clarification on that at some point. I think the insinuation in my interpretation was that they would be legal, but you'd have to know the correct wording, and that would have to be available.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But they did 100% clarify that if your cards were printed with another symbol, like example, 1-2 Punch was printed in, I think, the X-Men symbol, and also was in the card pack. So it's got the web symbol, the hammer symbol, and the X-Men symbol. It's got all 3 printings. And so you can use any of the printings because they're all the same. Did you guys, because, let me check here. I'm just going to go to the banned and restricted list and see what it says.
Did we do a happy dance when we read it? The answer is yes.
Oh yeah, because there's separate banned and restricted lists for the new timelines, which is our next topic. So new banned and restricted lists. Extended timeline has no banned cards and no restricted cards. Hooray! We can now play Hired Muscle again. Oh boy.
Man.
Weren't those good times? Remember when you would Hired Muscle the fucking Mayor Fisk tokens? That was fun.
Good God.
All right. So I'm going to go through the standard restricted list. Would you rather me go one at a time and we can talk about the relevance, or do you want me to just read the whole list?
Do the whole list.
Whole list. All right. We have 2 Infinity Gems. We have the Reality Gem and the Space Gem are both restricted. Tactics cards include Advanced R&D, Brace for Impact, Disarm, Indomitable, Patch Up, and Sacrifice. So Jeremy, were you surprised to see Infinity Gems make the restricted list?
I was. That was a really cool fix for a problem. I didn't see that coming, but I think it's fantastic. I think that's cool.
Aaron, did you see this coming?
Not at all.
Not
I
at
did
all.
say yesterday that they should just restrict Thanos. So I agree with Jeremy. This is an interesting way to do that. I am concerned with the repercussions that it will have on Black Order writ large, as opposed to the splash.
I think it hurts the splash less, or it hurts the splash more than the full Black Order roster, because the full Black Order roster, it's not losing much that it really wanted, as where the splash is not only making the splash difficult to play, it's making the rest of your roster difficult to play too.
I agree. It doesn't completely neuter the splash, but it has a significant impact. Black Order is less impacted, but still impacted. If you're going to take a standard Black Order list, you are essentially forbidden from taking any other good cards. That I think it's somewhere between interesting and significant.
Yeah.
I think they caught a bunch of really good cards to put on restricted. I didn't see a lot of those coming, but I think the cool part is as soon as you restricted the ones that were restricted that we knew were coming, I was like, well, I'll just use these instead. Wah, wah, they caught me. Like, I totally feel like I got caught. I'm like, oh, perfect. No, I can't. I can't do those. There's going to be some really good tactics cards choice selections now, like spicy, like some hot takes, man. Like what's out there, what's just slightly deeper than that top level. I like that.
So, do you think with the cards we still have available to us, now that we've lost those 17 cards, plus the original 2 banned cards? Oh no, it was more than it was 3 banned cards, but one of them got changed and completely errated. So, we basically lost 20 cards from the original set. And do you think that the cards that are on the restricted list now are more impacting that they're on the restricted list than the cards we used to have? Like, are these less roster bending than the old ones, where it's like if you don't have exactly 2 from the restricted list, you're selling yourself really short? Or is it less impacting? Is it just as impacting? Is it more so now that our pool is smaller?
The fact that field dressing was removed makes it less impactful. There is no card more impactful to swinging a game than field dressing.
I'll go one step further. I'll say field dressing plus the healing card. That little combo right there was the game changer of all. One or the other wasn't half as bad as both together, right?
Yeah. Being able to field dressing and then immediately med pack was pretty brutal.
That 4 health swing was gnarly.
Or if you just came up, like, you're not super punished at the moment for just coming up 1 damage short, because patch up is so much harder to play than med pack that you have to be immediately in position to perform it. But, I mean, it's obviously has a higher upside. I'm happy Advanced R&D is on the list. I feel like this card should have been there for a really long time. They seem to really hate turn 0 and turn 1 gimmicks. Like, they passionately seem to hate them because they think it takes the fun away from the game. And by them, I'm saying the devs. Yet this card has been allowed to exist for the entirety of the game. So I don't understand why it was able to exist for so long, because all it does is make turn 1 gimmicky plays.
I wouldn't cry if it just got banned.
Yeah.
So,
like, I thought when they originally ratted it, I thought they were just going to get rid of it. Instead, they brought it back to life when they should have just gotten rid of it.
So with this update, what I think AMG did was they took a look at, again, this is a theory. It's not, I don't know about this, but they took a look at all the games that were being played over the past 6 months. They just decided that people were not dying nearly enough. There's way too much control, moving around, healing people. Like, they want characters to daze and die and get removed from the field. Because every single card that got bumped either to the banned / rotated or restricted list helps keep your team alive. I think. Go ahead.
Well, I feel like they listened to me from podcast 1, where I was like, these models need to goddamn die, and they just won't because of these fucking tactics cards. And I've said that forever, and it was boo-hoo. Jeremy just doesn't know how to fucking play. Well, you know what? Jeremy doesn't know how to play, but I also hate when you fucking heal your models. Okay? So stop it. They said stop too.
Wish.
But I mean, look at that. Like, attrition is a part of the game, but when you can't use attrition because of all the bullshit, you've lost, like, everything. Like, your list can't do half of what your opponent's list is doing.
I think there's no question whatsoever between us that the offensive tactics cards were objectively worse than the defensive tactics cards, right?
Correct.
Like, there is, like, short of, like, maybe Dark Rain, there is no card equivalent to Medpack for offense. Like, 1-2 punch, I don't care how many ways you try and cut it, is never going to be the opposite of Medpack.
There's not a lightning bolt.
Like, it just isn't.
That's what it is. Lightning bolt.
And anytime a card gets even close, it immediately gets restricted or banned.
Yep.
Like, look at Doomed Prophecy, look at all that stuff. Like, all you've got, Blind Obsession. All those cards immediately go away because it only takes 1 tick past good to be broken on offense. But yet the defensive cards have been allowed to exist for so long that we just took it as part of the game.
Yeah. No, I'm just sitting here thinking, like, the ability to heal 3, right? and then the ability to just walk up with Juggernaut and be like, take one. How devastating is that? That fucking kicks you in the face so many times. Just his ability to walk up and make you take one, not 2 or 3, one. Like, and that's the equivalent of it, but it's backwards. Imagine if it had a tactics card that said +2 damage to next attack. You're like, what?
Okay, so do you guys think that there are 2 cards on this list that are the go-tos in a vacuum? Like, these are the best 2 cards on the list?
No, not at all. I think it's very roster dependent. That's my hot take.
I think there is one best card on the list. There's a singular best card. But I don't think there's 2.
Gosh. I don't know.
I think the best card is Indomitable. It has the most game impact.
I disagree.
It can stop throws and is also counter control.
I agree with that.
As where everything else on the list, I don't think does 2 things. I think they all do one thing.
I don't know. I've been fighting half the time anymore, and Indomitable doesn't do anything.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
go ahead.
I don't know. That's just what I'm saying. I've ran into a lot of times where it just doesn't do anything, or it does everything. I guess. I mean, it has done both.
So I've played Juggernaut a bit recently, and his throw into a team that does not have Indomitable or doesn't have it online due to power is crushing.
Crippling.
It's crazy.
Yeah, against a Venom, Omega Red. And so Indomitable has been key to be in the 10. It doesn't need to always be on the table, but you almost always had to have it in your 10.
Correct.
So I agree with Jeremy. There are games when, okay, you push me short. Okay, not game altering. So if you don't have someone who's going to throw long or medium, Indomitable is not necessary. But you almost have to bring it now just to counter Juggernaut.
I find that basically every list that I'm going to build will have, brace and then something. So this is tough. Like, this is really,
Yeah, it felt like Brace and Patch were so obvious because they were the only 2 cards we expected to stick around. But now that they've added these other 4 tactics cards, man, it feels like a hard choice now.
I mean, it probably comes down to Patch Up, Brace, and Indomitable. Some version of those 2 are probably the 2 you're going to take.
I feel a little naked without healing, and so if I have a character that can heal like a Wong or a Hood or maybe a Doctor Strange, then I'd obviously feel a lot better about not taking Patch Up. But I think my list going forward as the baseline is going to be probably Indomitable Patch Up.
If you have a tentpole character, I think you take Patch Up. If you don't, you probably take Brace.
Yeah, that's fair. I tend to play tall, so I that's probably why I lean that direction. Were there any cards on the list that you guys were surprised about? I know Aaron said that all of the cards on the list were good choices.
I was shocked about Disarm.
Yeah, Disarm got me too.
But if all the other cards are now restricted, Disarm would be in every list, right? It would be in every roster. Maybe not in your list every time, but it would be there.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Which I love this list for that reason.
The list that I had planned on playing for TTS Season 8 had 4 of these 6 restricted cards, plus the other 2 that were just rotated out.
Yep.
So clearly, yes, they're all very good.
So just for the record, what were they? Can you read them out?
Advanced R&D, Disarm, Indomitable, Sacrifice, Field Dressing, and Medpack. So those were the 6 that were in the list. So those 6 need to come down to 2 now, or scrap the list completely. But that just goes to show how good and impactful those cards were. So if I absolutely think they made the right choice in taking probably the 6 most impactful cards that were generic and placing them in the restricted list. Whether they should have or not is debatable. But I think they got the cards right if that's what they wanted to do.
Yeah. So this is what I was talking about when we talked about the 17 cards that were getting rotated. I thought the fact that there was like 5 generic cards that were like definitely not broken, because like Seeing Red went away, like Acute Senses, like there was a bunch of random cards that were rotating out, and I was like, why are these going away? And then I was like, because I would actually look at playing Seeing Red now that all the like really powerful stuff was gone, and now you can't, like those cards are gone. So it kind of surprised me that they were so willing to get rid of some older cards that would finally maybe see the light of day, but now they chose to do this for whatever reason. I do think that the restricted list, I think, is pretty healthy. The fact that these cards are on the restricted list says that the tactics cards are definitely in a better place now than they were.
I'm pretty psyched at trying to build stuff now.
I concur.
That's cool. I like it. I like it a lot.
there's definitely no question Brace, Patch Up, and Dominable probably would have been in every single roster. And
absolutely.
then if we move on past that, Disarm, Advanced RNA, and Sacrifice would be in like at least half. And so we've just chosen 6 of like the 10 cards in pretty much half the rosters in the game.
So, question for you guys.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No. Go ahead. I was just making a comment. Go ahead.
Okay, Brandon, you alluded earlier to what there are 23 cards left over in the generic bucket, if you will. And you said what
the unaffiliated,
Yep.
uncharacter restricted.
Yep. So which of those cards? Because depending on your roster, you're not going to be able to fill 10 without them. Which of those cards are now going to start to see the light of day?
Ooh, I don't have them in front of me.
I'll give you my top 3 while you think. How about that?
Sure.
I think you'll understand 2 of them. The third one's spicy. Inspiring Monologue, I think, comes back as a defensive technique.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I've always been a huge fan of that card.
Marked for Death.
Yeah, that should already be in people's rosters.
And my spicy take is Fallback.
You like Fallback?
Yes,
Explain.
I do like Fallback.
Explain.
Okay, so for anyone who doesn't know, Fallback gives you a move short before damage is dealt. So it's not after the attack is resolved. There are a lot of rapid fire rosters. Bucky is everywhere. If you either are just in range stealth or inside range 5, Bucky wants to shoot you twice for potentially 4 times. If you play Fallback off of his first target rather, he will only ever be able to target you once and you waste a second action. And it goes the same for anyone else. Zemo charges you. He gets his first attack. He's at range 2. You survive. You have perfect knowledge. You don't have to play it before you're attacked. You fall back and he wastes his second action.
Why? Can you read the card
Yep.
to me real quick? Maybe I misremembered.
When an allied character is attacked, before damage is dealt, it may spend 2 to play this card. This character may advance short away from the attacking character.
Oh, because it's not after the attack is resolved. Yeah, that's smart. I don't think it makes a lot of lists, but it is not bad.
I think you'll see a lot of characters stapled to their personal cards. I think you'll see a lot of that.
Yeah, I think the best part about this is we're going to start seeing a lot more of the character-only cards.
I think it depends on your affiliation. Brotherhood has 20 that are all good. Avengers does not.
But that also leans towards characters like Venom getting included in more rosters because there's tactic slots to bring in their support.
What I'm excited for are more niche plays that can be in your roster. For instance, I want to play Avengers with Hulk and Smash on Montesi, right? Like, I just want to set that up, and I can do that now because I can afford a tactics card spot for Smash.
Smash is great, but you don't need Hulk to play Smash.
He wants to smash a big thing.
Yes, clearly.
Well, but, I mean,
or Dormammu.
But I mean, if we're talking about throwbacks, the way to go used to be you would take MODOK and smash a kiosk, and you had a 9-dice Psychic Blast, which was fucking crazy.
With all rerolls.
Yeah, with the full rerolls. It was so dumb. And then you could play that in Cabal, so you could also Dark Rain on top of it. And it was like convocation level rerolls. It was so dumb.
Right. So exactly, plays like that you were replaced because tactic cards became so bog standard.
Yeah.
They are now no longer bog standard, and you have options to build specific plays with specific characters in specific crises into your list again.
I cannot wait for all the list building apps to update, and so I can start building lists. There's so many cards that are like not allowed anymore. I was thinking maybe Extreme Conditioning would get some play finally now that all the movement cards are gone. I think Face Me is going to start seeing a lot more rosters too.
Face Me is always an interesting one.
Inspiring Monologue for sure is in my top 3.
I think Face Me costs like 3 though. Is that the problem with Face Me?
It does.
Yeah.
It costs 3.
Every time I put it in my list, I'm like, badass. And I look down, I'm like, I don't have enough power to do it.
Yeah, I think my go-to will probably be Inspiring Monologue, Marked for Death, and I want to say like Smash or Trip Up, but I don't think they'll actually make the cut.
What's the one that causes stagger? Is that Trip Up?
That's no, there isn't one that causes.
Yes,
stagger.
there is.
Yes, Trip Up does.
Is it Trip Up?
But it's on damage. That's the issue.
It's on damage and its response to the attack, so you can't you don't get knowledge of the attack roll.
Correct.
Yeah, you have to have 2 characters within. You have to have a character within 2 of your character, and they have to attack an enemy. They each spend 1. If damage is dealt by this attack, they gain stagger and stun. So it's good.
It's cheap.
It is.
It is cheap, but you have to deal damage. So, and like stuff like Bullseye doesn't get around it because it just does an innate damage, not a damage from the attack.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's best with Shuri.
Shuri is really silly with it
because
sure.
you're pushed, stunned, and staggered.
Yeah, and it's a 6-die energy, which is one of the better generic attacks.
With a built-in reroll, so...
Yeah. I think my go-tos are probably going to be Escort to Safety, Inspiring, and Marked for Death. That's probably my generics, although Trip Up probably gets an honorable mention. Jeremy, do you have any go-tos that you're excited to play?
Not really. I think that you named the ones that I would generally go to. The only one that, aside from, I don't think Trip Up or any of those would make it. It would probably be a smash or a damage card or something. I've been fiddling for a while with attrition, with just very heavy tactics cards based on attrition, and maybe huck them all in there. See what happens now that people can't heal, or they don't have all their stupid little sacrifice or whatever else shenanigans. Being able to actually kill people would be fun for once.
Yeah. Just to remind people, these are the cards that we lost with the cycle. It is Field Dressing, Med Pack, Bitter Rivals, Climbing Gear, Blind Obsession, Heavy Ordnance, Acute Senses, Tactical Analysis, Battle Lust. Oh, we did lose Extreme Conditioning. Never mind.
Oopsie.
That's gone too. Rocket Boots, Sucker, Seeing Red, Web Barrier, Unearthly Rage, No Escape, and Reversal. So we lost. Battle Lust was the best card dice adder in the whole game, in my opinion, short of maybe Smash, which is really situational. And we lost all the movement cards, basically. Tell you what, honestly, MODOK's going to start making a lot of my lists because Aim Lackeys is still there.
I think that you'll see Midnight Suns being able to place themselves. That's important again. Like, there's all kinds of things that are now important again.
Yeah.
With losing just the ability to plop your model back somewhere using a tactics card and not being able to do that anymore. I mean, there's some premium
MODOK without
shit.
Climbing Gear seems bad.
Well, everyone's going to use Heimdall, so who cares? Right? Like, whatever. Heimdall. What's your roster? 9 models plus Heimdall. I didn't see him on the list of restricted. Did we miss that? H-I-E.
Man, honestly, he wouldn't surprise me if he had like a day of release errata. Like, that guy seems so busted. I wouldn't be surprised if we get the oops misprint treatment on him as well.
Oops, all berries.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. Man. All right, so let's move on to the second section, which is the Hallelujah section, the new banned list. We have added a single card to the banned list. Well, we theoretically removed 2 because they cycled out, but we're adding Mystic Wakandan Herbs,
Woo!
Factor Fiction, called
Fiction,
it, nailed
motherfucker.
it, prophecy fulfilled. Thank God it's gone.
I'm really upset.
Take that, Brent. Face.
Brent, eat a dick.
Told you that didn't seem okay.
It didn't seem okay.
Told you that made me feel a certain way.
Yeah. I am very happy that's done with. The worst thing ever is like trying to do well at a tournament and then just getting Yahtzeed because your opponent wins priority and pulls herbs and you just lose. Like, oh, this was a fun tournament and glad a lot of strategy went into this.
I've only played in like 5 tournaments this year, 4 maybe, I don't know. But 2 tournaments now, I've got Yahtzeed into that bullshit. And I really, it's just like, okay, god damn it.
Yeah. Yeah, I watch people lose at Omaha. It's like 30, 35, or 38 person event, and like people are just losing to herbs in the top 8, and it's like, man, that's hard to watch. Like, played so well, played 4 rounds to make top 8, first round of top 8, just lose because you flip herbs. Like, ugh.
Cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a pretty low percentage that you actually can get it as long as the other player
30%.
both have it.
Well, it's a 1 in 6 if only one of you has it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But if you both have it, you deserve it. Fuck that shit.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like, it definitely shouldn't exist because outside of like the super gimmicky missions, it's a bad mission. Like, even without the abuse, it's bad still.
When it first came out, we all stared at it and we're like, this thing's a mess. I'm not doing that.
Aaron, on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you that we don't have herbs anymore?
If you really want to know, my wife wanted to have sex 2 hours ago, and I told her I couldn't because I already orgasmed earlier today.
Oh, okay.
You took care of it?
I thought this was going in a very different direction.
my god. I went ahead. Yeah,
All
I mean, I
right.
went ahead and like finished my models. I was so excited. I was like, I guess I don't
I
have to throw this.
actually went back to
I don't have to
trading
throw this
models.
shit in the trash. Like, cool.
No, that combined with advanced R&D going to restricted, anything they can do to put the Kielbosch on the turn 1 plays is good, because they can just they can be a very negative play experience to just auto lose because there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
I
I
think
think this is the farthest they've ever gone to nerfing a specific thing, because herbs got banned, tactical analysis got banned or cycled, climbing gear got cycled, space stone got restricted, advanced R&D got restricted. Like, they were like, we never want this to happen ever again.
But by the same
Except that
token,
it's-
just like you said,
yeah.
Heimdall comes into the game, and he enables a lot of turn 1 positioning. Not necessarily jank, but positioning.
But so does like Clea and Red Skull. So like him placing somebody on the first turn, that doesn't bother me at all. It's more the rerolls on scenario. Like, it's just gonna make the pay to flips like a minefield of when your opponent has Heimdall or not. And obviously everyone playing pay to flips will have Heimdall. And so it feels like you almost have to like play their game. Like, you have to put Heimdall into your roster in case your opponent is playing pay to flips, so you don't just get out muscled on the dice rolls. Do you guys feel that way, or am I alone in that like thought process?
I haven't taken it to that level yet. I'm not saying you're wrong.
Okay. It feels like the same thing. We're back to herbs, except they have 3 pay to flips in their roster, not 1 herbs. And so if your opponent's playing, and also you take the reality stone too, which means you're succeeding on skulls. And so, although who can take the reality? It's just Thanos and Corvus. Does anybody else get it? I'm sure Malekith will. But yeah, I'm just thinking if you could make like a super really good pay to flip where you're just over checking other people. And that's kind of why I'm worried about being the next like strong scenario list. Anyway,
could be.
that's just
So-
where my brain was going.
I think there's enough counterplay into Heimdall. He's got everything in range 3. If he wants to do it for 2 points, he's paying 4 power. He's got to get positioned first. So there's counterplay into that. I haven't actually done it yet, but
That's true.
So just back
Unless
on.
you're with Steve.
Yeah,
don't tempt me.
that's a whole different thing. Just back on all these changes and the things that were banned and all that stuff. Like, if you're sitting here looking at that list and your feelings are hurt and you're really like, this is terrible, you're a terrible person. Okay? Like,
Yeah.
you should know that no one wants to play you, and the only way you get games is by spending money to play in a tournament that no one wants to play you. So keep that in mind, douchebag.
You seem to feel a very specific way about this.
I do.
Oh, okay. Cool.
There will be people who will be upset about little bits and parts of it. For instance, Space Gem got nerfed. Okay, so you can't play Space Maw. Was that intentional? Did they want to nerf being able to splash Space Maw somewhere? And was that part of your Brotherhood / Avengers / whatever roster that is now on the outs and you feel bad about it? I don't think you're a douchebag.
Why can't
But-
you play Space Maw?
You still can. It's just cost a
You
restricted
can.
spot.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the list that you play Space Maw in needs its restricted slots, I would argue.
My point is, you might feel bad because you're butthurt that your favorite list just got nerfed. However, in the grand scheme of the game is in a better state.
100%. Yeah. No one's going to argue that understands like the actual meta. How about this? Aaron, do you think that the only reason Thanos isn't on the restricted list because they've drawn a line in the sand and said no characters?
Yes. I do not think a character will ever hit the restricted list.
Okay. Do you think if it wasn't for that hypothetical rule that they should have just done him instead of the Space Stone, do you think the game would be better if Thanos was just restricted straight up?
I'd have to think about that for a second.
Okay. Jeremy, do you have a thought on either of these questions?
Just Thanos being restricted. I don't think that helps at all. He can be restricted. That's fine. And if the stones aren't restricted, then you just have the same problem you've always had. You just have douchebag Thanos doing Thanos things in any list he wants to.
So part of the problem is he still can.
Right. You can still do it. You're just giving up other things.
Yes.
Correct.
Whether you restrict one of his stones that he wants to take in the quote-unquote popular build, or you restrict him, you're still just taking one of your restricted spots.
That's why I would have even argued that restricting mind and space or doing like Thanos and mind.
What I think they did was effectively nerf the Black Order splash, not just the Thanos
Yes.
splash.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I don't have half as much problem now that I can actually kill Thanos. I mean, it's still hard, right?
Yeah.
But before it was damn near impossible. Like,
So, yeah, the interesting thing for me is you can still do Mind Stone and Soul Stone and put Thanos in Avengers and have like the unlimited power Thanos that still has mind control. And none of that is restricted. And so I wonder if people are going to try that next, because it seems like every time it's reminiscent of old Mark II War Machine. Every time they nerf Thanos or his list in some way, we just see a new, better refined version of it that makes it through on efficiency.
I would strongly consider Mind Reality in X-Men.
Yeah, that's also very good.
that is good. It plays very nicely. But without, I think it's much scarier and much dicier now that you don't have field dressing.
It's true.
No
For
field
my
dressing.
opponent as well.
Yeah, the problem is that you might have needed field dressing. Your opponent absolutely needed field
Yeah,
dressing.
no, you're true. That's true. True.
Yeah. I've played, I think, about 10 games now without field dressing, preparing for this cycle to happen. And the only games I missed field dressing was when my opponent had it and I didn't.
Correct.
I actually think the game is more fun without it.
Oh, it
And
is.
I was one of the biggest proponents of it originally. I was like, finally, we can get past this daze mechanic. And then it's just like ruined the game for 2 years. Like, fuck.
No, it's funny without field dressing. You just run your assholes everywhere. Like, you don't worry about that space too. You're like, they all got to be range 2 just in case. Nah, not without. They just go.
But tell you what, though, I got real good at pre-positioning for field dressing. I wouldn't even think about it. I'm like, I'd be looking at people's boards like, why aren't your characters within 2 of each other, idiot? like just yelling at new players. They're like, I don't understand. Like, they don't even own field dressing. Like, you're so bad.
Like, you're going to be fine. You have field dressing. Wait, don't you have field dressing?
What's a field dressing? Yeah, what's that?
So with the removal of a bunch of healing tech, are attrition teams, quote-unquote, buffed?
It's mostly defensive tech in general, not just necessarily healing. But yes, I think that is probably the case. Because you still have access to except for climbing gear, you have access to all the counter control. But the control lists don't have access to the defense. So I think it might even the playing field a little bit. I don't know that it's back to fair.
So the control teams, I think, are also buffed because of the change to climbing gear, tactical analysis, and indomitable.
It's hard to get back to where you were.
So who got better more?
Right. The counter control is more limited, but the defense of the control teams is also more limited. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to be pretty much status quo on that end.
Fair enough.
Do either of you guys have any hot takes for what this will do to the meta in the immediate future or in the distant future?
Gosh.
Immediate future is going to be Shield and Heimdall Avengers with a 75% combined win rate.
I think that's actually true, which makes me very unhappy. But I think it's correct. I think grunt characters in general are too strong. Like, parents and grunts are just too strong right now. I think Elektra is balanced, and the other two are just overpowered.
I would agree. I agree with that. I think Shield is...
No. Elektra is not balanced.
I think Elektra is balanced with what grunt characters should be because of the advantages of the grunt mechanics. Because I think that both Nick Fury and Daredevil are on the top half, minimum top half, on just being a 4-point character in a vacuum if you ignore their leaderships and the fact that they spawn grunts. If you took every reference to grunts and leadership off their sheets, they'd still be above average 4-pointers. And then you add on the leaderships, it makes them probably well-tuned, and then you add on the grunt mechanics, and it just goes sideways. Like, they are 5-point characters easy. I would argue that Nick Fury is probably a 5.5-point character, maybe even a 6. Like, his impact to the game is insane for a 4-point character.
I think for a 4-point character with his leadership with grunts, yes, he is close to a 5. But without any of the grunts or his leadership, he sucks.
I don't know that
for
that's
4
true.
points?
I think he's fine.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I lean towards Jeremy, but I think there's a middle ground somewhere.
Nick Fury is certainly worse as a standalone 4-pointer than Daredevil is.
I agree.
But I think they're close enough. I don't think people realize how bad the whole of 4-point characters are. And if we're just going to accept that we're going to power creep the meta by producing better characters now than we ever had before, to that we decide that's the new balanced part of the game we want, that's fine, but we haven't gotten to that point yet where we've left all these other characters behind. Like, What is a better 4-point character than Nick Fury and Daredevil?
Black Panther Vision, Black Swan.
I don't think Black Panther affects the game on the scale of either of them.
With or without leaderships?
With all their kit.
Okay. I can't really compare them with the leaderships, but...
Well, they don't always get... Nick Fury specifically doesn't always get taken in S.H.I.E.L.D. Daredevil's more consistently taken in Criminals. But I know you've played him using Kingpin's leadership.
Usually when I needed a 4-pointer and didn't have another one on my roster. I don't think I ever would have done that otherwise.
Right, because why would you take another 4-pointer when you already have Daredevil? Like, he's fine. Even if he's not doing the strategy you want necessarily, he's still fine. Because he's so good.
What exactly were we...
He doesn't control anything.
Sure, like, he has a weakness. I understand that. But, like, all 4-pointers have weaknesses.
Some have more than one.
Yeah.
Are we talking from, like, Wolverine to Thanos power level? Is that the scale here, or...
What do you mean?
Well, Wolverine would be 0. Thanos would be 10.
Oh, like Wolverine's not the same. There's worse 4-pointers than Wolverine.
There's better
Gamora.
2-pointers than Wolverine.
Gamora is worse than Wolverine, and she's gotten an update.
Oh, I don't know, man. Okay, so what was the topic here? What the fuck were we talking about? I got lost.
We just started talking about characters, and I said the grunt characters were.
Oh yeah.
Here, I'm gonna try four threat characters.
I think it's hard to get better than Black Panther straight up for 4 points. Man.
Black Panther is very good, but I think both of the new parent grunt characters, except for Elektra's definitely worse. But I think both Nick Fury and Daredevil are better than Black Panther. The amount of game impact the grunts generate is so huge. And I don't think people are like talking about it. Like, the number of missions having a grunt turns on its head on the first turn is crazy.
I agree.
I don't think Daredevil's grunts change the mission almost at all.
I think they do.
Can they go pick it up, throw it to somebody at the same turn?
Their greatest utility is in saving 1 power turn 1.
Right. So they can pick up the back point, hand it to somebody.
Yeah.
But they can also go get a middle point, and admittedly, they're easy to kill. But if you're walking up and shooting them, you're not getting in range to pick up the token generally. And so you can still go get the token with another character, and they've wasted activations and tempo and positioning trying to get the fucking token away from you.
But they've also given away 2 power by letting them kill the grunts. I think
if the ranged attack is a builder, sure.
Yeah, or even a gainer. Yes. Bottom line, I think Fury's grunts are much more scenario and game impacting than Daredevil's. Daredevil's
absolutely.
His make me
give
so mad.
Extra dice to his attack, and that's it.
What'd you say, Jeremy?
Oh, his Furies just make me so mad.
The
they
shield
make me
operatives
furious.
are stupid. Yeah.
And what makes me even madder is when I'm playing Parker, he has no idea how good they actually are.
Yeah.
He
He's
goes
like,
and does it.
Grunt.
And
Why are you
mad
upset? It's like, because that grunt is worth more than one of my 3-point characters.
Or 4 at the time. Like, what are you going to do?
My biggest concern with all these changes is the hit to Black Order makes the natural predator to all these grunts worse.
That's true. Well, I think we're going to see the full Black Order build is going to have a not 8-point Thanos in it. And so I think that's going to be what keeps them in check, is that there's like a 6-point or maybe a 7-point Thanos running around that changes the math. Because now you're not selling out for the list, you're just taking him as a bruiser.
Yeah, I can see that. I'd be interested to see how prevalent it is in the meta. But
Yeah.
The more Thanos-led Black Order there is, the less you can afford to run S.H.I.E.L.D. In a game impactful way. Like, otherwise your grunts just seem to run to the back corner.
Yeah. And even if they do, they'll probably still get killed at some point, because Proxima will just go chase them down. Here, can I just sort by 4 points on my phone?
Is Gamora the worst 4-point model? Are we still on that?
She's not.
She's certainly not great, but I don't think she's the worst.
Who's the worst?
I would probably argue Hela or Cyclops.
Aaron, do you believe either of those are the worst?
I'm going to have to look here in a second.
Cyclops is dog shit.
So
Hawkeye legitimately is a better character than Cyclops.
When you said them, it didn't seem wrong.
That felt pretty good.
Here. I mean, I can just read down the list of 4-point characters, and you guys can stop me when there's one better than the 2 grunt parents.
Oh, better?
And we don't count Elektra. Yeah, the one that's better. And I don't think Black Panther is.
Well, you're wrong, but that's okay.
I think Black
Don't get me
Panther
wrong.
is a great fucking character. Don't get me wrong. Like, if we're talking about the 3 best 4-pointers, he's on the list of the top 3.
So him, Fury, and Daredevil, according to you.
Yes.
So it all comes down to what do you want the 4-pointer to do. So you can't ever say best or worst in a vacuum.
Sure. Well, I'm saying that if you add in all the stuff they do in a generic game, not assuming what allies you have, I think that's what we're talking about. And yeah, the mission will change it. Everything's going to change it.
When I think of generic best/worst, I think of a random affiliation that is just trying to generically do well. Let's call it Guardians or
Okay.
Avengers. Like, who would you splash into a generic roster? And that's, I guess, how I think of generic good/bad.
I don't know. I think that's even kind of tilted because you're thinking of a character you can apply like rerolls to that is going to help the Guardians characters, but I understand how you're like reaching for just quality in general. I understand that.
Isn't Elektra the worst? Didn't we decide that?
I think the grunts put her on par with most of them. She has some serious flaws, but let me explain something to you. Also, let's pick a character here. Carnage has some flaws too. As good as he is, it's like Cyclops is dog shit. Have you read Cyclops' card?
Yes, I have.
I played him in the last 2 months, man.
Imagine that you had, like Black Panther, right? And you removed all the good stuff from his card
Okay.
and replaced it with bad stuff.
All right.
That's Cyclops.
That sounds bad.
So, reading through the entire list of 4s, I can find a legitimate reason to play all of them except about 4. And I think that's good.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying that they're unusable garbage. I'm
Yep.
just saying that I think the last 4-pointers to come out, like Black Swan, the Grunt Parents, have been on a different tier than the 4-pointers we've seen in the past. And maybe that has been that they looked at the data and said 4-pointers don't get taken unless they're leaders. And so they want to up the numbers and the effectiveness on the table to make them feel more impactful. Because I know in Kansas City, our meta for a long time has been, you don't take a 4-pointer unless they're your fucking leader. Like, that's just been the way we played the game for, 2 years.
That, I mean,
If that's what they're
3-pointers are
doing,
so good.
I support it.
Yeah, I think 4-pointers have been pretty lackluster for a long time.
3s are great, 5s are great, 4s are just meh.
Yeah.
Wolverine is Wolverine.
I'm never going to understand why you hate Wolverine so much.
It's because he's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what else is on our updates here? What other things are newsworthy? Where are we going here?
Moving on, they have officially announced the thing that got leaked earlier this year, which is the Winter Guard are coming. The Winter Guard are a Marvel hero ? Team. See, this is why Parker's supposed to be here. After the fall of the USSR, the newly formed Russia decided they needed their own heroic team to rival the Americans.
Jesus
They
Christ.
merged with the People's Protectorate with the Cyber Force, which is the Siberian military.
Huh.
They became the Winter Guard.
Cool. Those seem
Joseph
cool.
Petkus, who was the Red Guardian at the time, became the leader, known as the Steel Guardian. Alongside Darkstar, the Vanguard, and Cybercat, Vostok and Fantasia and Power Surge, they formed this team. The characters that have been spoiled are the Red Guardian, which people might remember from Marvel's Black Widow. We have Darkstar, who is some kind of energy manipulator. And then we have Ursa Major, who is a giant grizzly bear-looking creature. And then the Crimson Dynamo, which is was repurposed as the bad guy in Iron Man 1. Or no, that was Ironmonger. That was a different guy. Crimson Dynamo is just Russian Iron Man, I guess.
Okay, Jeremy, how
Anyway.
excited are you for this?
Well, I'm not as excited about this as I am for the North Korean heroes, which will be released next month. I not only am I not excited about those models or the ideas behind them or any of that shit, they also look like crap. Personally, I don't like them at all.
So at this point, I'm on the sliding scale of unless it's Doom, it gets less than a 5 out of 10. And so until that is fixed, that's going to be the case. Now, that
Okay.
being said, these guys get a solid 3. So just understand that their cap is 5 out of 10.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that I would definitely put them at a 3. They look like they're going to be fun to play with. I like energy attackers in general, like people that throw energy blasts. The big grizzly bear and the big robot seem fun, and then Red Guardian's just going to be obviously anti-Captain America, which is going to be fucking awesome.
I think the whole
Hopefully,
the whole robot team is definitely on the horizon.
yeah, the Iron Suit team is definitely coming. And the Armor Wars are coming around the corner as the Disney Plus show, which is going to be great. And so hopefully we'll have a Power Armor team by then.
That I can go for. I'm into that.
Yeah. Cool. Anybody else have anything?
You
to
stoked
say
about that, Aaron?
the
You really
card?
digging it? You
Aaron,
really enjoy
seem
that?
Excited.
I could care less. I'm agnostic. I shot my whole load of Malekith, and I'm just waiting for August.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty. So let's move on. The last thing we're going to kind of talk about today is the fact that Atomic Mass Games officially released their event packet, which is known as the Challenger Rules.
Challenger.
We're just going to hit the broad strokes on this. We'll talk about the different points. So, opening this up here, we've kind of just briefly skimmed it because it came out today. Player responsibilities. Players are supposed to bring their miniatures. It covers the rules for how you can modify your miniatures. Basically, don't do anything that would make them not obviously identifiable as the exact characters they're supposed to be in the game. And obviously, you can't change their base size. You have to bring cards, dice, measuring tools, tokens, and a copy of your roster to all events. This is all pretty basic stuff. This is just like, common sense rules here for the most part. They have a section on sportsmanship. Basically, don't treat your opponent like garbage, and they should not treat you like garbage. Be respectful, and don't be an idiot. Jeremy, you were talking earlier about this missed opportunities section. Did you read that, or did you just say missed opportunities and skim it?
I skimmed it and didn't read it all, but it's basically says pay attention, and if it matters, you're going to be in trouble, and if it doesn't really matter, move on.
Yeah, so basically what this says is you're responsible for using your abilities at the proper time in the game and resolving effects in a proper way. So you can't retroactively go backwards and do things that have happened in the past, but you should also give your opponent the proper amount of time to trigger their abilities or acknowledge that they're going to or not use their responses. Margin of error, they say that it's expected that there's going to be some bumping or sliding of tokens and things throughout the game. And then specific rules for how you should resolve that is in here. Unsportsmanlike conduct. This is kind of like the first important thing for me. What happens when you are acting outside of what the community would expect you to, and basically being rude or condescending or just straight cheating in a game. They talk about fast rolling dice and things like that here. So I'm glad that they've acknowledged that these are things that, can be considered punishable by either warnings or other punishments in the game. And then event organizer responsibilities. This is basically for me because I'm going to be running all the fucking events now, apparently. Event rules. So if you're changing the event rules from what the basics are, you need to inform all the players in advance. They suggest using a Swiss round timer, which is just an overall round timer. But they say that you should not inform the players of the remaining time in the rounds, and you should use a variable round length, which means you can add up to 5 minutes at random to the round timer. So that way players can't just set a clock when you start the round. Do you guys think that there's any importance to the random game length? Do you think that adds anything to the normal round timer? Would you rather this number not be public knowledge?
No. And here's why.
So you would rather it be public.
Absolutely. So people inherently have a bias where no one ever thinks they take as much time as they do. You could say, hey, start your turn, right? And how long did that take you? Oh, it took me about 3 minutes. Actually, it took you 12, right?
Yes.
So they are always going to think they have more time available. And so if you're talking about clock pressure in general existing to keep up the tempo of the game, hiding the clock timer is not going to accomplish that goal.
Yeah, I agree. Jeremy, do you have any opinions on this before I go?
I do. I think it's very strange that back in the day in 40K, they used to do that too, but it was a different kind of thing. They would have a timer on you roll the d6, and if you got a 5, the game was over. Randomly.
Yeah.
You're oh, okay, I only played 3 turns. That's fun. I'm not sure why everyone thinks it's so much goddamn fun to not know how long your game is supposed to take. For whatever timer / reasoning. It's so weird. I'm against it.
So I can tell you from being in event organizing in general for like the last 15 years, this is done so people don't know how long is left in the round, specifically to avoid some issues that come up with like slow playing and playing for advantage and manipulating the clock in general. That being said, I don't think it's ever a good idea to make the clocks not public knowledge. It creates more issues than it fixes, in my opinion. That being said, I think it's fairly, semantic. Like, I don't know that the difference of having public knowledge timer and non-public knowledge timer really changes anything. The reason I want the timer to be public knowledge is that so people know that they need to hurry, because it's an out of sight, out of mind problem. At Adepticon, most of the games didn't get to turn 3 because people could not visibly see the timers and had no idea that an hour was already gone after round 1. So they're not playing with any urgency, which one of the biggest advantages of playing on a chess clock is that it adds urgency. You can glance over constantly and see your clock. And I've used half my time and we're only on turn 2. I need to play faster. It doesn't fix the problem of having an imbalance in time taken throughout the game, which is unfortunate, which is the biggest problem with just overall timed rounds. What they suggest for what happens when the timer goes off, though, is you finish the current game round and then score it, which I think is probably the only option you have if you're going to use round timer, because if you end the turn you end the round in the middle of the round and you haven't finished all the activations, you don't have a true representation of what happened to that round, so I don't think you can fairly score it. Perfect example, like, I have 1 bottle left to activate, and all they need to do is walk to here to score the researcher, and I score 4 points. And that would make me win the game. But instead, I lost an activation because my opponent didn't finish their turn before the round timer went off, and I could take my simple activation of advancing twice. And so I would end up losing the game versus them winning the game. So it's not a fair representation of the round, so you couldn't realistically score it. And so if the round timer were to go off in the middle of a round, that round would basically be void and you'd only score the previous rounds. And so that's the only other option you have, is you finish the current round or you only score rounds before this one. So that being said, I think the only way you can logically do that is resolve the remaining round. Now, the problem is if you're not using any kind of clock or timer, that round could take an hour to finish. Like, what happens when you just started turn 4 and nobody's dead yet? Like, this is going to be 1/4 of the game. Like, and we've already used 90 minutes. Like, what are you supposed to do? It's going to take fucking forever. And so I think this is obviously a terrible idea. I think chess clocks or turn timers is the only way to do it. The fact that they're completely against timers, I don't understand. It just doesn't work in my opinion. So that's my rant. Do you guys disagree with anything I said? Would you like to battle me about timers?
No. I will add a caveat that I just started playing on clocks in War Machine about 5 years ago, and it was daunting at the beginning. So I understand trying to make a game more accommodating, being anti-clock. Having said that, I am now very pro-clock for every reason you stated.
I have never had somebody start using a chess clock and then go back. Like, once you get accustomed to it, nobody will ever want to go back. It's always a better game. The game is cleaner, it's faster, it's more efficient, and it's more fair.
No argument for me.
All right. Moving on. Pairings. They explain basically how the buy works. In this format, you will receive 14 victory points for receiving the buy. The buy is random in the first round, and then the lowest ranked player who has not received a buy gets the buy in future rounds. It also covers what happens if a player wants to leave the event or drop. Basically, you notify the event organizer. They do specify that the event organizer can apply penalties to people who do drop, such as forfeiting any possible prizes.
Damn right. I think they should enact punishments.
I actually don't like when people drop from the events. But I think that kind of, I don't know, it's kind of weird. Personally, I think you should not be eligible for any prize if you drop from it. That's always been my personal opinion. That being said, if it's an exceptionally long event, once basically we get to round 3 or 4, okay, we're now accepting drops at no penalty, but yeah, whatever.
That's one thing that's nice about tournaments that have a cut. I mean, it kind of works
Mhm.
that way too. Like it's like,
Yeah,
go do something else.
you basically force everyone to drop. Yeah. They cover breakdowns on how many players should have certain top cuts. I'm a big fan of top cuts in Marvel specifically because of the high RNG factor of the dice and the mission selection and everything. I think like the concept that it's basically double elimination is really nice.
So I'll interrupt you for one quick second.
Come at me.
Just to go back to the overall changes, something you said just triggered a thought. The healing cards that used to exist in the game served as a balance to the variance in the game in many ways. Now that balance is gone, I'm just interested to see if the game is going to become even more swingy with dazing characters left or right than it has been in the past.
So me and Jeremy had this conversation several times in the past, and that was kind of my thought process on the healing cards, and his opinion, I believe at the time, was it actually doesn't go to balance it, because if one player is already ahead, the healing cards just make it harder for your opponent to dig out of the hole. Because like they come up, they hit you for 4, and you're like, med back, and you're like, well shit, now I'm still completely behind and don't have an answer. So generally what happens is the game comes down to who can leverage field dressing the most. And without field dressing in the game, it's more kind of up to natural selection. And with that in play, I think the games will still be swingy, but I think they were fairly swingy before. I don't think it's going to be more swingy than it is right now.
Fair enough. And maybe swingy was the wrong word. But what I think I mean is you could always plan on being able to accomplish X or try to accomplish X with these two models. Because if they did damage to you, you'd be able to med pack it, or you'd be able to field dress them and still get your activation. Now, you may not have an activation with character X because they just get dazed before you go and you have nothing to do about it. There's no more sacrifice. If you didn't bring a bodyguard, there's no field dressing. So your ability to execute whatever strategy you wanted is lessened. I guess that's what I mean. And so instead of just swinging dice, the strategic decision may be taken away from you, which could be a good thing. It's going to force you to be more responsive on your feet. I don't know. It's just a random thought I had.
Yeah. So moving on, they have end of match conditions. The possibilities are one player has achieved a victory, and then obviously what happens. If neither player has achieved a victory, both players are given a draw. Concession, one player voluntarily concedes the match to their opponent. Conceding the match results in you losing, and your opponent receives a win and 14 victory points, or their current total, whichever is greater. Additionally, collusion between the two players is not permitted, and if anyone observing the game or a watcher believes that they are attempting to manipulate the scoring system, both players should be either given a warning or ejected from the event. And then finally, draw. If neither player wishes to play the game, they can decide to draw, in which case both players are awarded a draw. Event points, this is pretty standard for all tournament systems. You get 3 points for a win, 1 point for a draw, 0 points for a loss. They cover tiebreakers. Tiebreakers are in the following: strength of schedule, victory points scored, and then random. And so those are the 3 different levels for determining ranking at the end of the event. Strength of schedule is opponent's win rate, and the that's basically it. It's opponent's win rate, basically. So if your opponents win a match, they get the number of victory points, or the number of tournament points they would receive would be 3, just like we just talked about. So if you play 3 opponents, one goes undefeated, so they go 3-0, and one goes 2-1, and one goes 1-2. The total number of points scored, the first person scores 9, second person scores 6, third person scores 3. So you'd have a total of 18 points, and then there's some math that goes into it. You basically divide it by the number of rounds, and that gives you a final result score. And then you compare your strength of schedule score to everyone else's strength of schedule score. Because it's by win rate, not total wins, you're not punished if your opponents drop. And so if your opponent wins a game, loses to you, and then drops, they have a 50% win rate, which is what's going to go into determining your overall strength of schedule. So it's actually totally fine if your opponent drops. In fact, it's better if they drop than they go on and keep losing. That, in fact, hurts you a lot more.
But less good than had they gone on and won. So it's all a crapshoot.
Yeah, less than if they had won. Alrighty. Personally, I think that victory points should be replaced with opponent strength of schedule. That's, I think, a truer way to determine how well you did at the event. Victory points is a complete fallacy, and because some missions have different scoring quantities and point differentials, and if you're not using a chess clock, some games are ending on earlier rounds, it's a mess. Like, victory points should never go into the final metric of how you did at the event.
Concur.
An odd thing I saw here is that they actually, in a roundabout way, disallow two-dimensional terrain at their events. I've never played with two-dimensional terrain for Marvel, but I actually think it would work great. But I just am not interested in trying it because I actually like the three-dimensional terrain. But officially, two-dimensional terrain is not allowed at their events. This is clearly somebody never liked the two-dimensional terrain for War Machine that got used. And I'm wondering if it's Pagani, because he never seemed to like flat terrain. So yeah, I'm just kind of curious. I wonder who it is.
How many events has AMG actually put on for Marvel?
0.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, that's not really fair to yell at them for it, because actually that's probably not true. Because the Adepticon was going to be the first one they went to, right? Jeremy, the Adepticon we were going to go to?
Yeah, I believe so. The one that got canceled.
I'm pretty sure it was, actually. So I actually think they've never run an official AMG sanctioned event, because the first one was going to be the Adepticon that was the April after the game came out, and the game came out in October. And so, yeah, I'm pretty sure that they've never actually run an official sanctioned event.
But when they do, it won't have flat terrain.
No flat terrain.
Clearly.
Well, because Asmodee will not allow them to travel, because they still have a ban on Asmodee employees or affiliates going to conventions or any public event, I believe, because of COVID. That's what I was told at Adepticon.
But they also got COVID anyway.
They also got COVID anyway, so who the fuck cares?
If true, that's a valid excuse.
Yeah. No, it's fine. Yeah, I don't care they haven't got it's unfortunate because we haven't gotten to see them, but I understand. They've also added a new role to the event organizers called the Watcher. I think it's funny that they're called the Watchers, because there are Watchers in Marvel. Basically, it's either the event organizer or anyone nominated by the event organizer prior to the event to be a Watcher. The Watcher is not allowed to play in an event, and they're basically like a rules spectator. They can observe games if there's a dispute or a sportsmanship issue, if there's anything like that, or just observing a game for game state or legality of stuff or judge calls, anything like that. They're basically the rules judges of the event. And so if any reason there's an issue, the Watchers can observe the games or watch players that are having issues or give out warnings and eject players. Oh, there's also a head Watcher. In case you have so many Watchers, you need a Watcher boss. Yeah.
This seems very formal and very organized, like they almost want to have events now, right?
Yeah.
Almost.
You might even say this is like a competitive rules packet.
Watch your mouth, you son of a bitch.
You son of a bitch.
You shut
This is kind of awkward because we've been trying to review the community rules packet for the last 3 episodes.
Thank God we didn't.
Yeah. No, I'm still definitely, like, if I run an event, I'm using the community packet. This packet has some issues. I love that they finally released it, though. And it's not as complete trash as I expected. It's actually good. The only real issue is the timing. That's the only real problem. Victory points is so-so. It only really matters for placing, which is whatever. The problem is that for placing, you have to deal with, like, if you're cutting, placing is super important. And so if it ever goes to victory points on something like that, that's fucking stupid. Like, if you end up not making cut at an event because you played Montesi 3 rounds in a row, like, come on. Anyway.
You would make it known that happened to you if it happens.
Oh, I make it very known. So, do you guys have any thoughts about this? Any likes, dislikes, opinions?
The packet?
Yeah. Oh, there is one thing I want to bring up before I forget. They have officially conceded that you can replace anything that they produce with other things, as long as it's the appropriate size and shape and is recognizable.
Wait, you mean model? What do you mean?
Tokens, templates, measuring devices. For models,
I'm like, there's a lot of those out there.
The models have to be made up of a majority of Atomic Mass Games miniatures parts.
Okay. But you can use...
It doesn't have to be from the original miniature, I believe.
Okay.
So, yeah, you can't use like a full 3D print, but you could like use 3D printed parts and stuff on your
Gotcha.
models.
So I think this whole packet is completely irrelevant.
Yeah, I agree. I like how we went through it. It's like, yeah, it's totally relevant.
Like, are you going to use round timers? No. Okay.
No.
Um,
Are you going to make your round timer secret? No. Are you going to roll random dice to determine the round timer? No. Are you ever going to use fucking victory points as a tiebreaker? No.
So if there's some people out there who are not used to running tournaments and are looking forward to this packet and are like, this is awesome, now it shows me how to do it, then great. Two
Fine.
thumbs up.
Yeah.
So I'm not opposed to this packet.
This. Yeah. There's no problem with this at like a 8-person local tournament. There's no problem with this. The problem is when you break like 12 to 16 players, round timers start getting wonky, or if you just have that guy in your local area that is really slow at playing, he just ruins every one of his opponent's games because they don't get to play the game, and that's not fair. And so if you don't have any of those people, it doesn't matter. But if you don't have any of those people, you also don't need a rules packet. Like, it doesn't matter. Because if everyone there is just having a good time and like being considerate, it's not an issue. Where you write the rules to stop the dirtbags from ruining your games. Like, half of this packet explains what happens if your opponent threatens your life. Like, that's literally a bullet point in the fucking packet. Like, come on. Like, we're not writing this to stop Jeremy from saying, I don't like herbs.
I mean, what they really need to do is put another sheet at the end of it and call it, alternate tournaments. A, playing for skins. You nominate one of your models. Right?
Yeah, the anti-rule. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think I'll ever use this packet, but I think it's good that it exists. It's a good jumping off point, and it gives a lot of general guidelines on how they want their stuff done. I think the most important thing in this entire packet is the token section, where they say you can replace non-essential tokens as long as they're replaced with tokens of the correct size. That's the most important single thing in this entire thing.
I think the fact that it exists is pretty important, being that they said they'd never make something like that.
How dare you?
I know. I said it.
Jeremy, it's a whole new timeline.
I said it. That was like yesterday.
I'm going to get a t-shirt made up that just says head watcher on it, and I'm just going to walk around in public. You're like, what the fuck's wrong with him?
I just think that the timer thing was the hill that Bakani's going to die on. Like, no matter what happens, it's never going to get put in a packet that you can use a fucking chess timer.
I don't know. I'm halfway between either Pagani doesn't give a shit, and it's like Will Schick doing it. I don't know why. But it's like, Pagani's just never going to say either way if it's him or somebody else that's like, has PTSD over it. But somebody clearly was not happy with stuff that happened in the War Machine community. They were vehemently against it, and they hated every second of it. And then conveniently, about a year later, they all left the company. So maybe it's all of them. Who knows? I think it's funny. It really makes me laugh.
It's a hill to die on somebody's. Yeah. Like, they're fucking.
They did not like fucking proxy bases. They did not like pre-measuring. They did not like fucking chess clock.
You know what?
They hated every moment of it.
Fine, we're gonna go get our own game.
Yeah, we'll make our own game without all this competitiveness. Like it's just funny. Anyway, I think that's pretty much going to wrap up our news episode. Did you guys enjoy it? Do you have anything else you want to talk about before we wrap it up?
All right. So with what's going on, what are you planning on playing, Brandon?
I'm still planning on playing the thing I've been playing for a bit now, which is the Convocation of Wizards.
How's that going?
However, instantly when this dropped, I was like on the toilet. I'm like, okay, read the banned and restricted list. Cool. Go to list, delete herbs, delete Juggernaut. Wow, this list is better.
Yeah. So how's Blade doing? Is he making it
Blade's
happen?
Pretty good. It definitely works. He's not coming out of the list anytime soon.
Yeah.
But I was trying to take somebody out before, and the problem was Juggernaut was kind of eating up one of my important slots because Convocation actually rotate in a lot of different characters in their different list builds.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just like a core 5 characters that they only play with. And so, or at least my list is. So opening up that character slot, but more importantly, like 2 Tactics card slots, very nice. So currently I'm planning on adding, I'm going to put in the Books of Cagliostro because I really want to activate Strange twice, which seems fun.
It does seem good.
And I was thinking about adding another 2-pointer because I really like Wong. but I might just add in another 4-pointer, and that way I can just take Wong out and put in another 4-pointer. Because Blade's nice, but Blade's not always great. He's just good a lot of the time.
Can you get Daredevil so you can get the dudes that die?
No, I refuse to abuse the grunts. I really don't like the way they work, but I've thought about it a couple times. So my other options are primarily Ancient One and Enchantress.
You should play Ancient
Either
One.
one. You think so?
Only because you haven't.
That's true.
Have you played her, Aaron?
I did in the 3 weeks I was playing Convocation. I was not impressed, but it was still a very small sample size.
Yeah, I just feel like if I was going to play Ancient One, it feels like she's just boring, because she just kind of sits on a point and, like, beats a single person. And I'm like, yeah, if I wanted to do that, I would play, like, I don't know, a number of other characters.
I was always concerned with her dragging people in close to her. I'm like, I don't want people close to me, for Christ's sake.
Well, she has martial artist, is why.
Well, I get it, but I mean, I don't.
Well, but also, just like Webline, you can push people through you. So if we're fighting over a point and you attack me, I push you off the point.
Yeah, that's true. They go through.
And so if you attack me with your second action, you're not on the point anymore.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. So you basically are limited in the number of times you can attack her every round. She has martial artist. She has the ability to reroll her defense dice. She gets extra power every turn. And she can place herself. So she's got movement efficiency.
Okay.
And she has a really big attack. She has the same basic as Blade, except that his also does bleed. And she's a 2/3/5. So on your book's turn, she's almost impossible to kill.
With 2 free rerolls.
Yeah, with the 2 rerolls plus martial artist. Although martial artist doesn't work on mystic. Yeah, no mystic.
Cool.
I think she's good, but
yeah, I think she's good too. It's not like I think she's bad. I just don't think she's fun to play with, but I should probably give her a try.
Yeah. Well, Jeremy, what about this whole update gets you excited?
I'm just excited that other people are having to dive into an assortment of tactics cards, and I don't have to worry about herbs anymore. I'm glad to see that shit go. I think it's hilarious that now people have to decide whether they're taking Indomitable or not. I think the world is just a crazy world. I'm excited to play in. It doesn't matter what I play. Like I've been enjoying Steve Avengers a lot because of obvious Steve is Steve. But the other side of the table is what I find the most amazing and fun. Is I'm like, I know what kind of tools you've got now, and they're not the silly shit that you had before. Like, what do you do? What can you take? So that's what I think's cool. It doesn't really matter that much. I got some shit painted, so I'm actually going to try Hulkbuster in Avengers, I believe. I just want to put that model on the table. It seems really cool. Other than that, I don't know.
Cool.
Hulkbuster's really fun to play with.
Seems like it. Seems cool. Everybody's used it against me. I'm like, God damn it, that thing goes far. Like, shoot you, move away.
His kit feels so intuitive and clean. Like it always does what you want it to do.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's one of the best design models I've played with. Alrighty. Well, that's going to wrap it up for us today. Hopefully you guys had a good time. This has been Brandon.
Jeremy.
And Aaron.
And you've just listened to The Gang Splits the Timeline.
So what are we going to call this thing?
I got it. Okay. Incredible, new, fantastic, astonishing, mighty, original, uncanny, sensational podcast.
I'm just going to put down infamous.
All right.
God,
We did it.
Fucking did it again.
All the behind the scenes shit.
Yeah.
Shut up!
This
God
is,
damn it! Behind the curtain, man.
Yeah. This is what we call the pre-ramble. This goes immediately after the episode. And then what we record after the episode will go after the pre-ramble as the post-ramble. And so
Fucking blowing my mind.
we're talking from the future right now. This is after we've recorded the episode.
I have listened to the entire thing many times, so I'm aware.
Hey,
So you know that this is where we say how good of an episode it was.
it was superb.
It was so good.
So Okay, Peaky Blinders. Have you watched it, Aaron?
Peaky Blinders.
Watch what?
Peaky Blinders. Okay. The only reason to watch it, there's only one reason. Tom Hardy. If he wasn't in there, I would be like, he keeps me on the line. I'm like, maybe they're going to show him this episode. And I'm like, okay, no, maybe this. Okay, here he is.
It's Alfie Solomon, right?
Oh my God, he's so good. Yes.
So good.
So good. Every scene he's in, he steals it. He steals that show. So good. That's been my goal with COVID, is to entirely watch 1 through 6. I'm on season 5 now. I almost made it.
Oh, so did you get to the loading dock scene yet?
Yes. I got to all that.
That was a good scene.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
love that.
So I told Brandon he needs to watch the movie The Blood of Heroes. I'll tell you the same thing.
Oh. What is it? Who is it? What is that? I don't know what that is.
It's
Rutger Hauer from the 80s. And it's basically Rollerball meets Blood Bowl.
Is he the Punisher in it?
Yes.
Fuck
I
yes.
won't spoil it. You should just watch it.
Okay, all this bullshit aside, what was it called again?
The Blood of Heroes.
Is it new?
God, no.
It's from the 80s. It's
Jesus
Rutger Hauer.
Are
He's
you
out
being
there with a
serious? Am I
walker.
supposed to actually watch it, or are you fucking with me?
I think he wants you to watch it, but I don't plan to.
Do not troll me. Do not troll me with movies, God damn it.
Yeah.
So I
Personally-
will watch it. Yes. Once every 10
recommend-
years. It's a good watch every 10 years.
Yeah. I personally like Robot Jocks, which is the same basic premise, but with battle mechs.
And Hugh Jackman's in it. I mean, hey.
Well, that's real steel.
No, that's real steel. No,
How come
Robot
there's too
Jocks
many
is from
stupid
the
fucking
80s.
movies like that? Never mind. If Hugh Jackman's in it and not in it, I'm out.
Hugh Jackman's on both mine and my wife's laminated 5, so anything he's in, we're down for.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's why Tom Hardy's on my list
Okay.
too.
Just put Tom Hardy on the list. Does he have to have syphilis, or can it be syphilis-free Tom Hardy?
He doesn't have syphilis in it. He just has like some sort of
Does he?
cancer.
Some
It's
just,
cancer.
Just face and body cancer.
Yeah.
Just-
Yeah, it turns out it's just like a cancer or something. But he can't be killed. There's no way he's gone. Like, I have 2 seasons left, and he better fucking be in them. I better IMDb that before I waste my time.
There was like 3 separate times I thought he was dead for sure. Then he comes back.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, how is this fucker still in the show?
He's one of the most gnarly human beings ever. Saying the most insane shit with the most emphasis on... Oh, he's so good.
Yeah. So, spoilers. The main character of Peaky Blinders, who I guess is based on a real person. I think
Is
it's
he?
dramatized, but yeah, no, the Peaky
Okay.
Blinders were like real people. But anyway, so main character shows up to kill him because he basically like almost got his son killed,
hmm
and so he shows up to shoot him, and like literally like takes the gun and is like, "Fucking shoot me, you coward!"
Yeah.
Talks him out of shooting him by screaming, "Shoot me, you coward!"
Oh, man.
It's
Yeah.
awesome.
So did you get to the end of season 4? Did you get that far?
I think so. I'm
Did
on
you get-
the season,
Did you get to
Where
the
the-
Mafia?
the Italian mafia.
Yeah, when the Mafia
Yes.
shows up. Okay,
Yeah.
that's season 4. That's season
Yeah.
4.
Yeah, I started 5, and I think I quit
Okay.
through somewhere in 5. I got to the one where he's like out in the field and there's like a scarecrow. I don't know if you've gotten to this point.
No, I don't know anything about that.
Okay, all right. That's I
That's
think the
new.
last episode I saw. You'll know it when you see it.
Okay. Yeah, it's very. The thing is that the whole show is, it kind of breaks down to the same shit every time. And again, Tom Hardy breaks it up because he's so nuts and amazing.
Yeah,
Like, you just don't know, like, it just spirals out. Like, bottle rockets into space when he's on there.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know where it's going. Everything else is like, he finds some chick, he bangs them for some sort of profit and benefit, and then all of a sudden, everyone wants to kill him. You think that they're going to kill him. Somehow he slips out, and it's all his plan all along. And you're like, what? Every season seems to be that. I keep trying to watch, what is it, Obi-Wan? I keep trying to watch that.
Obi-Wan. I was about to watch the new episode before we started, and I decided not to because I'd be late.
I
We're through
can't seem
4.
to... What did you say, Aaron?
I said we're through 4.
Yeah. Are you guys liking it?
I liked
Yeah.
it.
Every time I sit down to watch it, my kids come barreling downstairs, or like, I'm like, well, I just need to finish up this one guy, and I stop paying attention for just a minute, and I'm lost. I got to just sit down and watch it.
I'm definitely more excited for new episodes of The Boys than I am for new episodes of
Oh
Obi-Wan.
my God. The Boys is so nuts.
It's so good. Aaron, do you watch The Boys?
I do not.
Okay. Do you know the premise?
Nope. I am super unhip. Just keep that in the back of your mind.
That's fine. Well, it's a Amazon original series that follows. I think it's actually based on a comic book.
It is.
It's a group of people that fight superheroes because the superheroes in this world are super flawed, and so they're just regular people. So a bunch of them are just awful, terrible human beings, and so they're trying to, like, through guerrilla tactics, take out these horrible superheroes that commit crimes, and it kind of follows them through their plot to stop the superheroes from taking over the world. But good? It's extremely gory. I love it. It's extremely gory and vulgar, but it's great. It's got what's his name? Carl Urban?
Yeah, that's him.
Carl Urban and a couple other fairly famous people.
Okay.
But it's really intense. Yeah, there's a lot of pretty dramatic scenes.
It's exciting from like go. Like everything about the show is exciting and violence. That's what it's about.
Yeah. It's because they basically, instead of just like Star Trek washing over the nitty-gritty parts of everything, they show the nitty-gritty parts and then actually try and well, what happens when Superman's actually a psycho and you have to like stop him? And so like all the stuff they have to go through, like what happens when all these people are real, and so like they work out like ways to try and kill these people, and like one of the examples is like they kidnap a superhero and they're like firing AK-47 down his throat trying to find a way to kill him because they can't kill him because he's got like invulnerability, and so they're like trying to drown him and set him on fire and like all this stuff to like get rid of this dude. But turns out no, we just gotta keep him chained to the wall for the next 30 years and hope he dies of old age. Like, that's all we can do.
Do what works.
Yeah, so it's pretty fun. The first episode, well, you just watch the first episode. If you don't like the first episode, you'll hate the show. But the first episode's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that one. I've watched that one twice through to make sure I didn't miss anything for this season that just started. It's really good. And it's fast-paced. That's what I like about it. Like, it doesn't mess around. Like, there's no downtime. Yeah. It doesn't allow you really to breathe. It just goes.
Yeah, it does a good job of catching the gravity of the scenes, but not dwelling on it for too long.
And just when you think something that is the most, like, offensive thing has happened, the next episode comes along. And you're like, wow, that was graphic and horrifying.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm okay with graphic and horrifying, a la Game of Thrones or Walking Dead.
Yeah.
I could care less for just stupid graphic, though. Like, if it's just gratuitous.
No, it's along the lines of, like, when you shoot someone, they explode instead of just getting a hole in them. Like, that's what it's like. Like, everything is, you just explode.
Okay, well, I can watch the first one and give it a try.
Cool.
Did you have a bunch of people show up to the game store Thursday?
New people?
It was 5 or 6.
Really?
Yeah, we had a new guy. His name's Preston. I think he's come to the store a couple times, but this is the first time for him playing. He seemed to have a great time. Him and CJ got a game in. It seems like they both enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna play John, but John chickened out because he was afraid of me. That's the story I'm going with. Definitely was not busy doing something else.
I always hear him talking to people how he's like, that Brandon guy, I'm just terrified of him. I know I'll never beat him and stuff. I hear a lot of that. Yeah.
Yeah. I watched the video cameras on playback after he used. That's exactly what he's saying. God. All right. So you guys pumped for all the news we have today?
Oh my God.
There was it feels like the dam is finally breaking.
It's raining.
Yeah.
Do you have it all written down? Like, do you have a control of this?
I got the card cycling. I got the new formats. I got the new banned and restricted list. Is there anything else that happened? I think that was it.
Winter Guard?
I guess that was announced. I don't know anything about... I'm not the guy for this. I don't know who these people are. I'm assuming that the bear guy is Grizzly, and if he's not Grizzly, I don't know who he is.
He's Major Ursa.
Is that Ursa? Okay.
Yeah. I know nothing else besides the name, so I will contribute nothing to it.
Marvel's Winter Guard.
Ugh.
From Earth 616.
Yeah, okay. I really thought that was a joke of a picture. I swear. I was looking at it and I'm like, okay, what game is that from? And I'm like, oh fuck, that's Marvel No.
Okay, well the Winter Guards seem to always pretty much be the same 4 people, but it doesn't just tell me their fucking names.
Red Dynamo. Or Dynamo.
Yeah, here we go. I got it.
All we know is their pictures though right now, right?
We know what the models look like.
Yeah. A bear, a silly looking wizard, a red Captain America guy.
You're not helping.
Excuse me?
And an Iron Man.
Yeah,
You're
well,
not helping.
dopey Iron Man.
It'll be interesting to see what affiliation they are or create, because they really aren't, little I've read, associated with anything else. And no one else is associated with them. So it'd be
As
a
it
really
should be.
small 4-person affiliation that just sounds weird.
Who's going to be on the team with a bear? That seems like a bad...
Malekith.
That's true.
Tiger, bear, lizard, raccoon. Oh yeah, it's happening.
Then they've got the actual release date of when they're going to drop a bunch of shit, right? It's like the 14th or something, or like when they're going to do their...
Mini extravaganzas.
Yeah.
14 to 16 July.
Yeah.
Okay. It looks like this is the same team that was in the comic book arc Death of Abomination, based on the fandom wiki of the Marvel. Because there has been other people on this team before.
Did you, in the news, your stuff here, they've got that, basically a tournament packet? Is that part of the news? Or is that something you're...
Nope.
Because they have the
What
Challenger.
The Challenger rules is just their event. It's just their event document. Same one that's existed the whole time.
Is
It's
it?
like how to play Marvel Crisis Protocol.
No, it's new.
No.
Because
It's
it
actually
gives...
new.
It is basically their answer to the tournament organizer kit that was, Kit Bash fan created and sent out with Omnis and everyone.
Yeah, it's very different. It's straight up how to run a tournament.
Yes. What happens?
Really?
Yeah.
Variable round timing is what they say should happen for your
that's-
rounds, and what happens when the round timer ends, etc. So it goes into how to run a tournament. Longshanks is reformulating their strength of schedule to match the new Challenger document. Let's put it that way.
Roll 5 dice for variable... What?
Yeah. That happens in, I think someone said Legion does that too, or I think it's Legion, and everyone just ignores that part.
What happened if they don't want to be involved with competitive play?
Shut your mouth!
Seems like that changed real quick when the community started doing it for them.
Shut your goddamn mouth. You're a
That's
liar.
the first thing I thought of too when I read it.
I know. As soon as every time they make an update, I'm like, interesting. But no, it's very much... Did you pull it up, Brandon?
I'm looking at it now, although my browser is not being friendly, so it's shrinking it. Makes it hard to read.
Where's that? So, missed opportunities. That's what I wanted to read here. Oh, it's very much like the one that was... yeah.
Oh, they've actually given some ground here. You are now allowed to replace your essential tokens as long as they match the exact dimensions of the correct tokens and are approved by the TO. So there you go. That's actually
everything that's not Muse on Mini. Got it.
What do you mean? Muse on Minis are correct sized. Fucking cardboard's wrong. Put a caliper on it. Tell me that they're the right fucking size.
Have they published the correct size?
Yes, they have. It's supposed to be 25 millimeter, and it's 26.
I understand that it's off by one, but
Yeah.
where's the 25 published?
I don't know if it was made in a public document or anything.
Okay.
But it's definitely... They were asked directly, and they're 25 millimeter tokens. And they sent that in text to the distributors, and then that's not the size they are.
Yeah. Not that I would ever... I said all that in jest.
Yeah, who cares? Yeah.
Are the
I mean,
Muse
it's close
ones are
enough.
one off?
Yeah.
No, the cardboard tokens are off by a millimeter.
Oh, gotcha.
Because the cardboard die punch is not accurate.
Mm-hmm. That's definitely something I hope that they would address. Of all the other things, I put that on top of my list. Yeah, so the Challenger packet.
What is a watcher? What the fuck?
That's your tournament organizer, isn't it?
No, it's the person...
Should a dispute or an argument arise, players should immediately call for a watcher to help them resolve it.
It's like floating referees.
Yeah. Who's supplying these floating referees? Is that Atomic Mass Games? Do they just have an army of people that go to
Says
like random
the watcher
local
can be
events?
the EO or someone
Mhm.
designated.
Yeah, because I just have an army of people standing around to be watchers. This is the biggest fallacy in wargaming, and I wish people would not just pretend that the judge can stand at your table and watch your fucking game.
Correct.
It's like, yeah, I understand that there's no perfect resolution for this stuff, but like, don't make it worse by pretending you can just put fucking a person on every table to watch the games.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they have to write it that way, though. Otherwise, what do they start off with? Be an adult?
Yeah, both players get a warning.
If you call a TO over, both of you lose 5 minutes off your clock.
Except you can't do that. Like, you can't functionally do that on most chess clocks.
You get to pull one model from both players.
I can't wait till like somebody just gets fed up with it and starts like seeing how far you can take like judge calls. And I'm not talking about Marvel, I'm talking about wargaming in general, because 40k is getting pretty crazy at this point where like judge calls and stuff. So what happens when you call the judge? My opponent just moved a model. Like, what? No, I didn't. He's lying to you. Like, you just get into an argument. Like, he's like, he just picked up his tank and moved it 3 inches to the left so it was on the objective. He's like, I didn't. And you're like, then you just argue about it. It's like, who was right? Like,
I'm honestly like, I
can't believe that doesn't happen right now.
As stupid as it is,
there's definitely people that would do that.
As stupid as that sounds and is, I feel like War Machine hit that wall when there was enough trinkets for every movement in the game, and you and your opponent, if your opponent used all those trinkets, they expected you to use them. And every time you didn't, it was like they wanted to call a judge over. It was horseshit, and that's how it felt.
Well,
it felt almost exactly what you're talking about.
If you're doing a very, very close measurement, and like you're trying to move around a building, and you don't have like anything to measure a movement around a circular object, then yeah, I get something like that, because you're not going to do it accurately. And the way that people do it is not even close to accurate. Like, I've seen people pull out those fucking, like, fabric tape measures that are made out of cloth and wrap it around the center. It's like, you see, it's 10 inches. Like, that's from, like, the fucking diameter. It's not, the circumference is not your move distance, because you have a base. Like, that's not how that works. Like, trying to explain it to them.
I've had very good experiences with judge calls in both War Machine and Marvel.
I did as well.
So people haven't been taking it for granted, but like at Bug Eater, I had to call over a judge, not because there was a rules question, but I just said, I am moving here. Can I fit in that location? Like, it was like right up against a building and a person, and it's like, you know, my opponent was willing to give it to me, but it was so close. I just called the judge and say, just yes or no. That way, it's not either me or the opponent making that judgment call as to whether I'm in or out of a legal placement.
Yeah, I always, anything close, I just say, am I? And my opponent usually goes, I don't know, I mean, measure. I'm like, no, you decide. Am I or am I not? And if they're going to call things close, then I'm going to call things close on them too. So usually that works out just fine. I mean, once they realize that that's what I'm actually doing, I'm like, is that fit? You know, like, what do you think? Well, I don't know. Let's measure it 27 times. No, that's not what I'm asking, dude. It either what does or doesn't. I'm not rolling a die. I can tell you that. We're not flipping a coin. You're not going to stare me down until I do it wrong.
Can you imagine how much of a fucking shit show cons are going to be if they just do 90 minutes, you can't check the round timer?
Here's the problem. They think that's going to speed up the pace of play.
Right, but it's the opposite.
You can totally hack your clock, your watch, whatever. And if you're up, you can just slow play it when you know you only have less than 10 minutes left. So, yeah, it is a horrible idea, and I am confident the community will not adopt that as standard practice.
Nah.
Yeah. And even if they were like they're thinking that the variable 5 minutes of round timer will make any fucking difference. Like, come on, man.
Yeah. But they also say finish the current turn and next person's round. So it's not like they're just cutting it off at 95. If the game is not concluded
when the timer for the Swiss round runs out, the players finish the current game round and calculate their scores.
Yeah.
Fuck me. That's so stupid.
Well, that way you can play 2.5 hour games.
This is clearly written by people not running events on a regular basis.
Yeah, but I mean, the people.
Do you know how many people? Go ahead.
Those people that make this game know better. Like, that's what I don't
I
understand.
think they don't care better. I think they.
Yeah,
I think
but they
there's
do care.
that's not our problem. Like, it's like, if you guys want to play this game at our events, then you just need to play faster. Like, and they don't understand or care. It's more that they don't care if people are going to stall or not. Like,
Why is that such a touchy issue?
it's not
of
even.
all the
I
things?
think
Like,
most
it's
stalling
weird.
isn't. Sorry, I don't think most stalling is actually that intentional. I think a lot of people get into having fun with the game. This is what happened at Adepticon on almost every table. Is people get into like the joy of the game and the fun interactions. They're talking with their opponent, and they don't realize 45 minutes has gone by and they're only on turn one.
Uh-huh.
Like, it just, your time is just gone so fast.
I agree. No, I don't think they're intentional either. There was only a handful in War Machine where they were intentional, and those were lists that were very intentional to do that, and you knew what was happening, and it sucked. But that was very rare, and it was the thing that they did. Most other
But
games
can you
are exactly
imagine
like you're
like
saying.
trying to play against Meat Mountain when there's no chess clock?
Absolutely. Or
Like, you wouldn't see turn 3. They'd be literally impossible to win the game on scenario.
yeah. And I mean, that's why people would bring him in hardcore, because you couldn't do shit about it. You'd bash against it. The only clock was the big one, basically.
They'd
and
barely
you
even be
lose.
able to move their own fucking models if they don't attack.
Yep.
Here's a random question for you. What percentage of the Marvel Crisis Protocol playing population do you think is the competitive con/tournament scene player versus the I've got some models and I play in my basement with my friends?
I think the con level player is probably somewhere between 20 and 30%. And I think the goes to local tournaments and tries to compete is somewhere between 50 and 75%.
Okay. I think there are significantly more casual players in MCP as compared to almost any other war game you want to talk about, whether it's Guild Ball, Legion, War Machine, just based off of the IP and the models. And I think AMG is writing a lot of what they do for those people.
I think those people, like, if we're talking about, like, just plays the game for fun casually, those people aren't even reading this document, so I don't see how that matters at all. Like, if you're just playing, like, perfect example, like, you and your son are playing at your house, do you follow any rule written in this document? Do you set a 90-minute round timer and roll 5 dice and, like, change the timer? Like, no one cares. If you're just playing casual games, you're just there to have fun. And so you're just going to play the game the way you want.
True, but there may be some people who don't, like, they want to organize, like, maybe they have a bunch of friends they want to have over, and like, oh, let's do a tournament. Like, oh, they've got this great packet. Let's just do what it says. I think there's a lot of that. I think there's more of that than I had realized previously. And that's based off of reading through, like, TTS Discord and other Facebook posts. Like, so you all had it nailed in terms of, like, this update was not a shock to you or anyone listening to this podcast.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is a complete shock to apparently 98% of the world, which just floors me. Yes.
Almost
like,
all
okay.
of it we called.
Yeah. And people are like, I don't understand. What's going on?
I also,
Yeah.
I wonder what percentage of that is, like, confirmation bias, where it's, like, you and me and Jeremy probably didn't post, yeah, I saw this coming online today, but we all knew it was coming.
Mhm.
Only the people that are surprised are voicing their opinions. They're like, oh, where was this coming from? I didn't know, Space Stone was so overpowered. It's like, well, it's really not, but, it's more that they're trying to nerf a specific character that takes it.
True, but I would say
Yeah, go
that the
ahead.
people on TTS playing in those seasons are the people that I would have expected to have known, like, be in the know on
Yeah.
stuff. And that's what floors me. Because there's thousands of people who aren't on the TTS Discord who are just playing in their basements, et cetera, et cetera. So, anyway, I think the non-competitive population is potentially bigger than I had thought, because I approach this game and the news and everything from a competitive tournament mindset.
Yeah. I don't know, I don't understand the point of writing an event rules packet for casual players. It's like an oxymoron. Like, if they want to follow the rules of the tournaments, that's absolutely fine, but I don't understand the logic of writing the rules for them. Because the difference of, like, chess clock and round timer is only important if people don't understand the difference. Like, the people that know the difference, you don't have to worry about. It's the people that don't know the difference and they don't understand what, like, fair amount of play is.
Fair enough.
And a lot of those same people, when they go to an event, are going to end up having a bad experience because they play against somebody who doesn't respect their opponent's time.
That's what I was waiting to hear. Exactly that. respecting your opponent's time. That to me is what the chess clock is all about. I mean, you both should have equal time to play the game and do your best with what you have. And when you don't have that, intentional or not, and I'm going to say 99% of the time, it's not intentional. It's just the bullshitting and the fucking around with, like, talking about some story of what your last model did 2 games ago to your opponent. And you both laugh and you both have a beer and you drink and shit and you get to turn 2 and the game's over. Like, damn, like
I have seen people go get a beer while they're playing a game. I'm just like, why are you even here? Like, what are you doing? Like you spent 10 minutes waiting in line to get a beer at the fucking concession stand while the round timer is running. Like, there's no way you guys are going to finish your game.
Yeah, I don't get it. It definitely is the premium way to play the game. I'm not sure. What's kind of weird, though, is this game takes itself, like, they want to claim that there's, like, this casual, fun thing about it, but when it comes to tabletop games, it's as complicated or more complicated than just about every other game. Like, this is not like, hey, Mom, I want to show you a new game. You've never played a tabletop game before. You want to be Spider-Man? No, it doesn't play like that at all. It's so complicated compared to, like,
also, like we're also writing these rules. Like, a perfect example, I just scrolled to the next page and it's like, we're writing these rules for the super casual, just want to have fun players. And then the same rules we've got, what happens when you have more than 65 players in your event, you want to cut to top. What top should you cut to? I'm like, this is not relevant information to go together in the same packet.
Strange.
I don't know. This actually all seems pretty fine. The only issue I have is the timer. You should... And I understand if they just, like, we don't want to tell people they have to buy chess clocks, but, man, that's brutal.
I mean, maybe that's
I haven't gotten to
chess clocks don't
tiebreakers
come in the
yet,
box.
though, and if the tiebreakers are as bad as I think it's going to be, I'm going to be really upset. What the fuck? Could you make this any more complicated? Strength of schedule. A player's strength schedule is calculated by dividing each of their opponent's total event points by the total number of rounds that opponent has played. Then adding the result for each opponent played together, and then dividing them by the number of opponents the player has played. Jeremy, what's the total?
4.
Cool.
It makes total sense. I don't understand why you don't get that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
what they're doing is not punishing you for having someone drop.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, they are dividing it by it's the win ratio, not win rate. It's the win rate, not win total.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So let's see, if I played 3 players that went 2-1, so they would each have 6 points divided by 3, which would be 2. And so then I would have a total of 6 points that we then divide by number of rounds the opponent has played, and then adding the result for each opponent played together. And then dividing that total by the number of opponents the player has played. So divided by 3. So that would give me a strength schedule of 2. Player with the highest strength of schedule is ranked above all other players, and the group is not yet ranked. Yeah, second place, blah, blah, blah. Okay. All right, well, that's not that bad. And then victory points scored, and then random. That's fine, I guess, because strength of schedule should fix the main thing. If this was the best possible, it would be strength of schedule followed by opponent strength of schedule, and then by, like, random, and just get rid of victory points, because the fact that you would ever use victory points to determine ranking is silly. Ooh, no 2D terrain. Ooh.
Cute. In your face. How are you going to figure out that you don't know how a beam works unless you have 3D terrain?
I still don't know how beams work, honestly. I'm not even ashamed to say it at this point. Every time I try and find out, I get more confused.
I know Black Swan has an I-beam. Does that work?
Yeah.
Oh, God. It is terrifying playing a new player and they throw a beam across you and you have like 7 effects that happen. And you're like, I have no idea how this is going to happen. Okay, I'm sorry. This is a mess.
Oh, man. Josh Russell's never going to be able to play.
Uh-oh.
Player should a player that has become upset or threatens or to become violent towards another player or spectator or any other person, in fact, should be banned from the event.
I never really had trouble with that guy. I don't know what happened with others that have, but...
I mean, he threatened, wasn't it DC, I want to say? He threatened bodily harm to one of the developers of War Machine while he was in the room. Like, It was like him and a couple other people, and he was like, "I'm gonna fucking kill you," like because he did something with the rules, and it's like, and then he got thrown out of the event for life. Like,
Yeah, I I don't know. I never had a problem with the guy. I guess in that there's lots of people that I have way more trouble with. Like there's some people that I find offensive on glancing at them. Like they make me so mad.
I bet I can guess who two of them are.
Do you want me to turn off my webcam?
Yeah. One of them is me.
Well, I mean, you do anger on sight. I do find myself like bright red, and I'm like can't figure out why I want to hit somebody.
Did you see they already fixed the symbol in the packet?
Yeah.
It was a oops.
All right.
I meant it to be an E, not a C. Whatever, dude. You did not.
I don't know. I think I'm giving him more credit for that now than I used to. That might have actually been a typo.
Given that their quality control isn't quite up to 100%.
I'm surprised
Well,
there isn't more spelling errors, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I'm not actually that worried about like the quality control stuff. It just like, yeah, I mean that could happen. Like I know enough about like game design and like the way everything works that I could see it happening. But at the time I was just upset that like some things were broken and they weren't caring about the missions. And I think I gave a little bit of a hard run on that one. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and get started and then we'll talk about more of this stuff. Aaron, do you know how introductions go? I assume you know from listening, but
I will say I do not have a form
okay.
name.
You're gonna go after Jeremy.
You're going to give out your full. First off, you need to use your full name, first, middle, last, also social security number, and if you have a credit card, hold it to the screen and take a screenshot.
Yeah,
that'll be perfect.
Sounds good.
Yeah, and also your address. Your
also address.
Yeah.
With the last 4 of the zip code, not just 5, the full 9?
Yeah, all 9, yeah.
Okay.
And if there's a maiden name, go ahead and say that, just in case.
Yeah.
With her birth date?
If you would. Jesus. That was lame.
We did it, guys.
We did it again?
Episode in the can. Yeah, we did it again.
Nice.
2 timelines. This is the second timeline.
Fuck yes.
Aaron, me and Parker put a little bit more thought in on the power denial list.
Yeah.
Oh God.
I've tentatively named it "Pay Your Taxes."
Okay. Props.
What did you come up with?
Yeah.
What is it?
It is your opponent will never ever 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 have power. that's what the list does. It's
Poison Judgment.
I have to do it off
Stun.
of memory because I didn't write it down. It's Ebony Maw, Supergiant, Enchantress, Ronan with the Power Stone, Loki. What's the other 4-pointer? I'm pretty sure there's another 4-pointer. Drawing a blank. Omega Red.
Yeah.
Mysterio.
And then it is Mysterio. I think we cut Groot. He might have gotten left in. I can't remember. I think there's one other character in there I'm forgetting. And then your tactics cards are Kick Him While They're Down, Grand Illusion, and then Trip Up, and a collection of other like really annoying cards, basically.
That all cause things.
Yeah, and so you do the 3 single extracts that you have to roll on in the middle, and so it's absorbing all their power. And then you do the 2 energy pay to flips, and then Terrigens because it poisons them. And so you just let them have the Terrigens on turn 1. Oh, Mordo's the other character. And so then you use the Terrigen clouds to poison their characters. And then every time they attack you, Ronan judges them.
Is Ghost
And
Rider
so
in
their
the list?
character. No, we took him out because we didn't think you would ever play him.
Yeah.
Because there's too many good 5s.
Okay.
And so you've got Mysterio, Enchantress, and Ebony Maw, which you have to spend 2 power to attack if you don't want to roll on their energy defense of 5 and 6.
Mm-hmm.
Or sorry, Mystic defense of 5 and 6. But they don't have power because you've poisoned half their list. And that's what Omega Red does. Wherever their highest collection of characters in, Omega Red just poison bombs them.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't shake poison unless you leave the aura, because you'll just gain poison again when you end your activation. So you just poison everybody, you stun everybody, you judge everybody, and then you've got a bunch of people that have sat power, and they just steal the power off of you. And so if they have like a character that's, once you've judged somebody, and then you've like poisoned and stunned them, or hex them, you can run up with Mordo, and he spreads the debuffs around, which is really cute.
So your ideal 17-point list is what?
It is Ebony Maw, Supergiant, Mysterio, Loki, or something like that. Let me see. 5. So you got 12 left. So you do 4 3s. Yeah, you probably have to cut Loki in that list.
You realize every single one of those models moves short, right?
No, they don't.
They're coming.
Several of them do.
They're coming for you slowly.
Yeah.
Well, you're giving them
You could
Terrigen
do
Mist, so
Ronin, Ebony Maw, Loki, Supergiant, or Mysterio would work at 17. I think that's one of the lists we talked about. So the issue is you've got Loki on top of you, and then Mysterio is going to throw down the Grand Illusion probably mid turn 2 or early turn 3. And then Loki's probably going to get injured at some point on that round, and you're going to be under the Loki bubble after that. And then all the scenario elements are constantly spending your power. You're having to spend an extra power on all your fucking powers. And you have to pay 2 power to attack people. And you don't gain power when you're damaged because Ronin's judging everybody. And so basically what happens is they come into you, they attack somebody, they immediately get judged, and then you just start shooting them. Oh, Voodoo was the other character. Because Voodoo has Soul Burn and Sap Power, and he can make you drop your objectives. So when they do find the objective, Voodoo just makes them drop it. And so they don't even score it.
sounds pretty miserable.
It looked pretty miserable on paper. You also have the pseudo well-laid plans with the psychic shockwave from Ebony Maw and Supergiant.
Oh, God.
Which is super funny. So if they get you on a wide extract, you're just like, everyone drops their shit. You're like at the end of the turn. You're like, fuck!
Definitely sounds
I
very
like the concept.
griefy.
I don't think it'll play as well, but I like it.
I don't know that it's definitely not great. I don't know that it's good. It's probably okay.
It sounds,
But mostly,
ugh.
like, the savvy opponents will realize what you're doing in list creation, but I think a lot of people go, oh, so you've just never played before. Like, yeah, like I borrowed all my buddy's extra models. Like, yeah. And then you go to play and he goes, wait a second, I'm poisoned and judged. How do I get power? And you don't. So the best part is, like, if you're on the objectives, right, and they were poisoned, they power up, they don't get any power, and you just walk away. And so if they chase you to attack you, they can't activate the objectives. And they can't stand there and activate the objectives because they don't have any power. It's really funny.
I don't know.
Oh, you also play PSD, so you have the plus defense die and can't be moved stuff.
Only against Mystic, right?
Against Mystic, but a lot of the guys can use their Mystic defense against some stuff, but mostly you can't be moved by superpowers.
Fair enough. I've got a week to decide what they're playing in TTS, and you almost had me there at trying that out.
I would not try that in TTS. I would wait till you go 0-2 and then play that in TTS.
And then play it? Okay.
Yeah.
I would say, my hot take right now in TTS is going to be Shield. Shield is going to be one
Shield
to lose, against. I feel like everyone's going to take losses against Shield. They have all the tools, and they're really fucking good.
So I'm really concerned because I have no legitimate experience with anyone but criminals. Like, I've dabbled with 1 or 2 games with a lot of people, but, like, competitively, that's it. So I'll be behind the 8 ball with everything else. I also want to be anti-meta as opposed to meta, so I would prefer to find something that preys on Shield. I just don't know what it is. Unless it's pure Black Order. Just to kill the grunts. Fine, bring your grunts. Go find it. I'll just tractor beam you with Thanos and kill you. I'll take your objective and get a victory point.
I think
but any good opponent will only let you do that once, and then the shield leadership will just give them the victory point right back.
Yeah,
I don't know if shortening the game is really what Black Order won at that point. Maybe.
So
is that really how that works? Hold on. Do you both get a victory point?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yes, you do.
I'm checking.
You gain 1, they gain 1.
Nick Fury says, if you have fewer victory points than an opponent the first time each round, an allied character's days are KO'd.
It's on the forums because I remember someone asked about it.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, who knows if it's actually supposed to work then?
Sure.
There's no way to know.
Yeah. When enemy character's days is KO'd, this character gains 1 victory point. Yeah, I would imagine it would work because they both trigger at the same time. And if one triggers, then the other is allowed to trigger. Or if you were just already down, obviously. I'm wondering if it was tied.
Yeah.
And Thanos killed him, do you both get the 1? And you just both go up 1?
I think so. I think that's how
And
it
then
works.
in if that's actually how that works, I don't think Thanos is the counter, because I think that's really bad, because you're just going to shorten the game.
Maybe. I mean, eventually, S.H.I.E.L.D. only gets that once around. So it discourages them from bringing the grunts back, because at some point you're going to start KOing their actual characters plus the grunts.
That's true.
So I don't know.
S.H.I.E.L.D. does tend to bring a lot of cheap characters, too.
I wasn't kidding about Thanos and X-Men. Strongly considering that.
It's very, very good.
I know that list works.
Having fun with Mind Reality Thanos.
Mm-hmm.
You also are really good on like pay to flips. I think that list is pretty strong.
I think Thanos is a splash as opposed to a every time, right? So you can build that list and just splash him as a 10th, and you got options.
Well, it's a lot like Guardians, where you have your core base and you're just adding in a character that fits the point total.
Yep. Or you can play wide. I mean, you don't even have to drop in a tent pole. So
sure. Yeah, I think X-Men with like pick your favorite good characters is really strong right now.
Yep. But that's why I don't really want to play it, because there's lots of people playing it. So, I don't know.
I like how the S.H.I.E.L.D. leadership can't place a character with an extract, but like, reposition can. That definitely makes sense.
S.H.I.E.L.D. leadership can't place. What do you mean?
The S.H.I.E.L.D. leadership you can't place if you have an extract token, right?
It's not a place, it's an advance.
Not S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm sorry. The X-Men. I said the wrong one.
Yeah, I'm like, what the hell?
That's my bad.
You are correct.
It's still plenty strong without that.
Oh, I know. It annoys me that cards like reposition exist.
I concur with that.
Yeah, X-Men, pretty strong. I think it's weird now that there's going to be the dynamic of there's not a guaranteed clapback without field dressing. So like models that do killing actually can get work done and make it to the next turn.
Yeah, you can actually... that makes me think characters that do the double act thing, manipulating priority is going to be more powerful than it used to be. So maybe Black Order is getting nerfed because they're also getting buffed with the priority manipulation.
Mm-hmm. It could be. I mean, it's a pretty big deal. The fact that a model can actually just stay down now. Like there's really no way to stop it. You're just down. And then the next turn you lose them.
You know which card was pseudo banned? Grievous Wounds.
Oh my god.
No one's ever going to take that fucking card now. It was already pretty shitty. You needed like a Corvus level threat to guarantee the damage.
There's going to be the one guy at one tournament, one time this year, that has She-Hulk right there and gets fucking Grievous Wound. No!
But like, so? Field dressing doesn't exist. Like, what's the point? Like, what are you stopping?
You won't be able to use the other one. They got the model standing right there. Healer right back.
You won't be able to field dress them? Or,
no.
med pack them?
No, the other one. The one that actually exists.
Patch up. No, because she's in S.H.I.E.L.D., she can get the
battlefield medicine.
The field medicine.
Oh, yeah, she gets that one.
You could actually heal her for like 8 in S.H.I.E.L.D. pretty easily.
Or more with Hood, or Wong, or Strange. So that's the other list I would be okay doing is Steve Avengers with Heimdall and Strange.
I really want to see Strange in Avengers again. I think it's going to be infuriating as fuck. It's going to be so annoying.
Just trying to double activate everybody. Activated.
No, just
healing.
It's
just the amount of power you can shove through that little man.
Yeah, he can use it all.
It's so annoying. You give him the Soul Stone, you're like, would you like to move up and use a superpower? Get fucked. Like, every time you use a superpower, he gets to add 2 dice to someone's defense roll. And you're like, was it worth it? And you're like, probably not. And then Heimdall gets to re-roll it. Like, oh my god. You're adding like 4 defense dice to every defense roll.
And then, Cat bodyguards and raises his shield and gets 2 with 2 rerolls. It's effectively a 10 dice defense roll.
Yeah. With blanks.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Jeremy's thinking about it. He's like, shit.
I don't think I take the Soul Stone, though.
I think you do, because it's a lot like Thanos. Like, if he could Death Degree every attack, it doesn't matter that you're down 2 models. Like, you're still outnumbering them. You're putting more attack dice on the field than they are. And so that's my thought, is like, you'll just have so much power on him that he'll always... Because if you don't, he won't get to do that much. He'll run out of power super early.
Because so you just double move him forward and use a Soul Stone and get a bunch of power? Hope your opponent...
You just put him like kind of in the middle, like not aggressively placed, but reasonably forward, so he's affecting the game.
I guess I could play Strange with a Soul Stone at 6 and Loki at Mind Gem at 5 and play whichever one makes sense based on point totals.
It's true.
Granted,
then obviously
they do very
Thanos
different things.
at 8. Yeah, Thanos at 8.
I don't play Thanos. The rest are Avengers plus Heimdall. Make it work. I think that's super strong and would play to my control. It'd be the Avengers I played before I switched to Criminals.
Yeah.
Right? Double move, throw you off the point. Problem is, Perrin's playing that in real life. So I gotta either steal it from him or, I don't know, I'll figure it out.
Tell him he has to get a summer job to buy all of his models.
I should, yes.
I wouldn't be surprised to see in a year from now Steve to get changed. The cheaper thing I think might be the hotness to go to that just kind of, I don't know, becomes unwieldy. Everybody seems to like really, really, really zing off of it. It's just so good now that
Well,
Captain
it's the best
is
leadership
not-
in the game. Like, if you only
Sure.
care about power, like it's Kingpin keeps getting worse with like every release. It feels like instead of getting better, and Cap just gets with these new tuned up models. Man, Cap is so crazy.
Yes.
I remember when we first saw Doctor Strange's card, we were like, this guy is going to break the game in half. You're like, there's not going to be a game after Doctor Strange comes out. Because all we had seen to that point was like Ultron. Like, there was nothing good.
Mhm.
You're like, holy shit, you can activate people?
I mean, with that being said, the fucking strange portals are still pretty sick,
They're pretty busted.
and those really have not changed that much. They changed a little,
No.
but not much.
They just took away the turn 1 jank, make some
Yep.
worthless.
They're garbage now.
Worthless.
Can't use them.
Groupthink, yep.
We went to Warfare Weekend, and one guy was like, dude, I did the portal play on turn 1, and Nebula just straight up killed Hawkeye. And I'm like,
Nebula kill Hawkeye. Oh.
I was like first activation
Oh,
of the
man.
game, Nebula dazed Hawkeye, and I'm like,
Well done.
so? Like, who cares? Like, he's like, but bro, I dazed him on the top of turn 1. I was like, yeah, and then you lost the game because you played Nebula in fucking Defenders. Like a dumbass. Like, you have 2 contesting models, you idiot.
I don't know. If you want to choose violence, Nebula's never wrong.
Nebula's a great 2-pointer, but like you can't survive a round. Like his list was done. Like Strange just double moves turn 1, can't even pick up an objective. It was so dumb.
So, from a strategic or a competitive mindset, I think the issue, the best thing you can do is figure out how to come away with the extract lead turn 1. Nothing else that you do in your list creation matters except that question.
Unless you have some way to change it on like turn 2, like to flip it. The problem is right now everyone can just throw Black Cat in their list, and then you're just bouncing the Black Cats off each other. Like it's not changing the ratio.
But you cannot guarantee a turn 2 flip without either Infinity Formula or Advanced R&D, which I don't see a lot of people taking anymore. So that's rough, unless you play with Steve.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, isn't
No,
the
yeah,
best
I
way
think-
to get a lead just simply Fury? Like, seriously.
Yeah, if you win priority with Fury, you have a scenario advantage.
Okay, let's
That's
pretend
the
like you
problem.
don't win with Fury. Like, you lose priority on a center extract, whether it's the 5 or Montesi
Yeah.
or Legacy
There's-
Virus. There's odd numbers of extracts everywhere, and you don't have priority. What do you do to not lose this game? Because as soon as your opponent gets the extract lead, they sit back on pretend you're playing a B secure.
Hmm.
You have to spend all of your actions running to them. Like, they have the
Yes.
game on a 70-30 right there. Ish, right?
Hmm.
You understand the concept. So how do you prevent them from establishing a turn 2 game state where they win if you don't change the game state? Which obviously costs you actions, which is just really, really bad.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, well, what can I do to daze models that come take center extracts? Whether a Thanos pulls them in, whether Hawkeye gets support with Steve's leadership, and then double tap.
I mean, Web Warriors obviously have plays because they've got so much board control.
Yep. And you could just play Gwen with anywhere, right? Look at that. I shoot you, pull you.
So which extracts are we specifically talking about? The odd-numbered ones?
So anything, so both Fs, Legacy Virus, Montesi, you'd have to have an answer to Fury Hammers. That's really the only way they're getting both of them.
Okay, so we got Alien Ship, Deadly Legacy Virus,
Don't care about Alien Ship,
Senators. So you don't care about the ones where you have to roll on it?
No.
Because it's random enough?
because that's random enough, right? That there's random
Okay.
induced. I care where they are going to go steal
Okay.
and extract
So
and have a lead.
then we have Deadly Legacy, which is 1. Spider-Infected Cubes, Montesi. So there's 4.
Of what? The 6 left in the game?
Well, yeah, if you're not well, the problem is there's only
I know. Like 8.
one even numbered extract because the extract's supposed to be odd because it's supposed to break up the even scoring. So how about this? From a list construction standpoint, why don't you play non-standard blues to combat that?
I don't think there is such a thing as non-standard blues.
Like, you can play meteors and sword base and then, like, gamma or terrigen, where you can change that number because we're fighting over a singular space, and if he's running away with two of the extracts or above average number of extracts, I then have more numbers or influence to put into that one extract, the one secure that matters.
So I don't care about the extracts because the secures are going to be more valuable. Okay, I would buy that.
Because if he's going to, like, for example, on Montesi, if he's going to grab 2 of the books and run away, he can't have them both on one character. So he's down 2 characters holding something, and you're playing meteors. And I'm like, I'm fine with your down 2 characters, I'm playing meteors.
Well, meteors and sword both require a fight in the middle.
Exactly. So he doesn't have the option to run. He's coming to you.
Yep. Okay, I'll have to think about that.
So maybe play very aggressive fight in the middle lists, and then just do those as your blues, and then don't play the reds he wants to play. Now, the problem is I have no idea where that leaves you in the meta, because those are all very aggressive scenarios. And so if you're not the most aggressive fight in the middle person, you might be screwed.
Yep. Okay.
I think the answer to the anything going in the middle and or wherever taking the lead on an odd numbered extract doesn't, like, Steve Venom solve that problem for you?
Steve Venom, by walking up and web lining him back?
Yes.
Web snaring.
You web snare them, yeah. And then you fucking kill them.
Depending on terrain, medium. You're right.
It's relevant, yeah.
Does Gwen not do it better for one less threat?
Well, also, like, Juggernaut's still heavily in the meta, even without herbs, and so that there are characters that just straight deny that as well.
By deny, you mean, like, move, slide, hit, or do you mean double move, throw?
No, he denies it because he can't be web snared.
Oh, denies. Yeah. I also really like punishing people who come to the middle with either Juggernaut or Angela. Or
and
Maw.
honestly, if that becomes the meta in general, is that they just web snare you / pull you in, PSD on 2 power characters might start becoming a thing, and you'll just PSD on first turn, go get the middle objective, so they can't drag you in.
PSD costs 2 to play?
It's X for range. So you do it at range 1.
You just spend it for yourself and then 1 for the extract?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't see that being in the meta right now, so if I cause the meta to change, I'll take that for kudos.
That would be cute.
I've been playing Toad in Criminal List to go take the center, but I've just had him bend one shot every flipping time.
Okay, so we talked about there was the 4 missions, right? So it is Legacy Virus,
Cure,
Legacy Virus,
Montesi,
Spider Infected, Cubes, Montesi. So there's 4 of them. Only Spider Infected can you not use Quicksilver's Can I Borrow That? So, and Quicksilver can attack them on the first turn if they take the middle point, because he's long plus range 3. Now, admittedly, you need to deal damage with the 4 dice attack, which is probably like a 60%er, but it's not guaranteed by any means.
If I've got Heimdall, giving him 2 rerolls, that's a lot higher.
It's true. And you generally are not going to have to go at it. And it also gets past the shield guy. It gets past the Nick Fury minion grunt.
Just takes from him?
Because you take it from him.
Okay, I'm intrigued. And he's in Avengers.
Okay.
I also think Brotherhood got a lot better with this update.
Yeah, I could see that. Admittedly, they're a little weak because they can't just sit on Magneto being immune with field dressing anymore. But other people, you don't have to worry about people waking up anymore. I never really did the climbing gear thing. I took it because it's obvious, but I never really felt, unless your opponent had strong board control, that you really had to use it. Asteroid M gets him in just as easy as everything else.
It gets him in, but then Hulk or Juggernaut say go away.
Sure.
It's nice to have a way to get back in the fight.
It's true.
Yeah, Brotherhood's really good right now. And they're all around, and when it comes to TTS, they definitely haven't climbed all the way to the very tippy top. So, it's not a meta one right now at all. Especially since they can't simply just take what's it called? The one we were talking about earlier where you can't throw somebody. Indomitable. Yeah, and I mean that's probably not one people are just going to grab. I mean, and if they do, okay, that means they're missing one of the other ones.
Well, honestly, Indomitable and Brotherhood, I never really worried about it because you have so many moving effects that they don't really have a choice. That you can kind of force it out super early.
I'm intrigued with Quicksilver. I think that's a good answer to the grunts.
Yes, I think that's true. The problem is if you pull Spider Infected, but then obviously you just don't play Quicksilver.
I just don't play Spider Infected. Play the other three.
Well, I'm saying if your opponent brings Spider Infected.
Oh, yeah.
Because obviously if he's playing Shield or Fury in general, he's doing the Fs as much as he can.
I think he's playing hammers.
I think you do hammers in the 2 Fs.
Yeah,
right?
But Quicksilver will take the hammer from the grunts. So
yeah, but he's flipping one at random, so he might pull Infected.
Yes, you're right.
So a really cool list that I heard about recently was you take Steve and Sam, and you start with Steve leadership until your guys get beat up, and then you switch over to Sam.
Mm-hmm.
That way you can use all the healing shit later, late game, which is kind of fucking brilliant. Like it's
the healing shit? What do you mean?
With Sam's leadership where you move and heal?
Oh, yeah, you get the passive healing, yeah.
So like when you don't need captains anymore, then Captain can go do whatever he wants. It doesn't matter if he dies. Like it just changes the whole dynamic. Switch leaderships. It's like a perfect card for all that situation. And also Sam is pretty good.
The slot for it.
Yeah, you definitely have space for it. I don't know. I think Steve's leadership continues to be good throughout the game, but yeah, once you've taken a bunch of damage, it's less important.
It was a pretty cool little list I heard about.
It definitely seems good. I wouldn't put anything past it, but it doesn't sound. I guess I thought you were trying to say it was like busted or something.
No, it was just interesting. Yeah. I like the sound of it.
Okay, what should I come up with?
So I wonder, because I'm always worried about the criminal list that we play, which is so all in that if you get caught by it and you're not ready, you just lose, right? And so I'm always worried about that when I'm building lists. I probably just need to stop worrying about it and then just don't expect to not have to play against Kingpin.
That's what I did. It feels really good.
Very out of favor in the meta, even before this quote-unquote nerf.
Right, and so I'm hoping that the meta shifts away from Kingpin in general, and so that I can go back to playing my non-beta flips, because I fucking hate beta flips.
Oh, I hate them.
They always fuck me. They fuck me so bad.
Yep. Yeah, so I got rid of them recently, and it feels so much better. So much better.
Alrighty. Well, I think we're probably going to wrap it up. Thank you guys for tuning in, and hopefully you had a good time. Thank you, Aaron, for joining us on this guest episode.
Yay, Aaron.
Maybe we'll have you on again soon.
Happy to be here.
Goodbye.
Peace.